I have a heart attack. All right.
Hey.
Welcome to the Devil's Work podcast, where we're here to talk about movies that make us feel bad in a good way.
Make us feel good and bad for
in
watching.
A bad way.
It hurts so good.
Yeah.
Dichotomies.
We're your hosts.
So on and so
Sideshow,
forth.
Skeptic, and Evelyn. I'm not going to tell you which one I am. I just don't want the responsibility.
That's for you to decide.
And today we're talking about a 2015 film called They Look Like People.
God damn, that title alone, dog.
It's such a good title.
Shit slaps.
It's like at once it's like that corny 50s like
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like a callback.
creepy movie title, but it's also like if you stop and think about it, you're like, ugh.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely unsettling.
It's interesting that you think that in terms of the title because you're right. I will tell you know, but what it made me think of is like 80s, 90s Wes Craven, John Carpenter, like People Under the Stairs, Serpent in the Rainbow.
Yeah.
Like
Serpent in the Rainbow, yeah.
Like it's
I can see that.
I think more so like People Under the Stairs, but just sort of like movies in their catalogs
vein.
of like those kinds of titles, which themselves were probably callbacks.
Yeah,
to
I mean, it makes me think of like
you know?
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah,
Something like that.
And this is very much in that same vein.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah.
It's like one that in the 50s would have been like a serendipitous, like accidental banger of a title. You know, like not realizing like how good it really is, but like now it's like you've had time to think about it and you know, it's cool. It's a very, very good title.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Getting past the title, shit.
Right?
Title talk.
I haven't seen... This is the first time I've watched this movie since it came out back in 2015.
Wow. So you've had some distance from this one. Wow,
but it never left my head.
Yeah, for sure.
It stayed with me. I found it very impressive because it's very low budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see
super low budget.
You can see the stuff that's the issues with it. Like some of the scenes are extremely pixelated. They're like one actor has a better mic than the other actor does.
Yeah, I've noticed that one for sure.
But the editing is solid.
There's like a couple shots that look like there's stock footage. As well, which I'm sure there's more of them in there, but there's like a couple shots with extras in them that look like those are stock footage because they probably couldn't like really afford very many extras.
Right. Yeah, it's very there are like maybe like 4 characters in this movie.
Yeah, so
5.
even being like, "Oh, should we go to the bar?" and then they don't is like, "Oh, we can't fucking afford that."
Yeah, like we can't.
we can't.
In New York City, I don't think so.
In this economy?
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. Yeah, but like in terms of like the writing's solid, the actors are good. And the story is really compelling. So it's really inspiring as a filmmaker to see something that minimal come together so well.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Like you could see they got super creative with that budget. Like super fucking creative. It is really excellently crafted in that way because you have to have a like strong script to go off of. Yeah. And this is a solid fucking script. Super solid script.
It is, yeah. And we were talking about how it pairs really well with Saint Maud in terms of theme of character.
Definitely heavily
You're not
tied.
sure what is real and what is not real.
Even like the actors using the voicing thing, like their own voices for like the
voice that the actor hears or the main character hears. And also I would say Take Shelter. I don't know if you guys have seen Take Shelter.
But I've actually one of my old roommates loved that movie and wanted to watch it with me, but then a lot of stuff happened. But
regardless
I would love
of
to
the
watch
stuff,
that movie. I've heard
you should
it's
definitely. It's one of my favorites. It's so good.
Absolutely check it out.
If you like that kind of theme,
I do.
That one will really fuck with you.
I love it. Yeah. No, this one definitely had ties to Saint Maud. Like, especially since we just did Maud, it's like I could see so many parallels between like maybe, I mean, who knows? Maybe Rose Glass watched this and was like, you know, I'm gonna keep that locked in for later. You know what I mean? But it's a very, very fucking. I would say also tied with like the religious themes too, because like they're also scattered in there with the you know talk of like schizophrenia and shit like that.
Yeah, it sort of has a kind of a doomsday rapture sort of a feeling to it.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into.
Oh man, this is such a good movie.
Yeah.
Very excited about this one.
I just realized yet again I didn't even think about trigger warnings before.
The only one I saw, and I could, which is, that's fine. I don't think there was a lot of like triggering content in this one. The only one I did see was suicidal ideation.
Definitely
saw
that's
that one.
very clear.
But yeah, I didn't see anything that would be considered too problematic.
No. I guess also homicide ideation. So
yeah, for sure.
You watch a character on the edge of doing some bad stuff.
Pretty heinous shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, with that, I mean, are we?
Yeah.
We can get into it. If this sounds good to you, I found this one on Shudder. I know it's on
Prime.
it's on Prime, I think, right now. Go out and watch this one if you want to, follow along for the discussion.
It's a great spooky little slow burn.
Yeah, it's not even very long of a commitment either. It's like
80 minutes.
Yeah, it's 80 minutes, solid, like again, tight script, like very tight shots. Like
It's also our first American film.
Oh wow! Trip out. Hey, well, USA.
Finally, get one on the board for Uncle Sam. When has the USA ever gotten anything, right?
I think this is the best way to go about that. Our
When
first
has
American
the white
movie
man
is
been represented?
this tiny little film that no one's seen.
Yeah, exactly.
The society we live in. All right, let's do it for the white man.
All right, take it away, bro.
Disclaimer,
Okay.
no.
No.
Just so you know, just firm reminder.
So, we open on Wyatt, who is laying in bed at night, and he's in bed with his fiancée, who you can't really see. You can just see the edge of her in the dark.
Silhouette lighting.
And she's facing away from him, and he's staring at the back of her head. And then she turns over, and she's facing him, but you still can't see her, and he's just staring at her.
The side of her face is lit, but it's only
just the rim light.
Barely, the side. Very, very, very side.
And it's a very long, very uncomfortable. You're in his POV, and he's staring at her, and he's just like.
You could see him like squinting.
He seems alarmed by her. And then it just cuts to the title, They Look Like People.
I think, okay, I had to rewind it. There's a second where you see her mouth start to open. Like, you see the shadow move and, like, the jaw starts opening.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. And it cuts to black because I was like, ooh, what is going on?
And you're like, huh, And then, I think from there it just goes straight to he's... I don't know where he lived before, but he goes to New York City to find his friend Christian, who we also see is in his daily life, like Christian's like listening to a tape of affirmations, and he's like working out, and he's in this office environment. And he's just trying to like
doing business things
and bettering himself. And he's always Googling things like how to ask out your boss.
That's the funniest one. I was like, wow, what the,
Luckily, there's an article for him.
Can you imagine? Like, I couldn't think of anything more uncomfortable. And then when they cut to him and her sitting across from each other, you're like, oh God.
Jesus, no.
And his boss Mara is very cute.
Oh yeah, she's adorable.
She's
Love her.
She's the one he's hoping to
bag
hang out with later, maybe for a long time.
He reminds me of Is his name Mark Duplass, the guy from Creed?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
no shit. I had the same thought. That's so funny.
He looks like a Duplass brother.
He totally does.
Yeah.
And absolutely. Like, the first thought I had in my head was like, haven't I seen this dude before? No, I haven't.
Never before. He listens to this aspirational tape. It's a woman, I think from New Zealand or Australia, and she's just saying these things like, "You are a mountain. You are 100 miles high.
The wave cannot knock you down.
And this is
bow."
He doesn't listen to music. This is what he listens to all the time. And he like leaves notes for himself on things to just like pump himself up. He feels like he seems like he's in a good place, but it seems to have come from a great deal of work.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a weird, very, very fucking strange motivational tapes that he's listening to.
And that's what he's up to. Like, he bumps into Wyatt on the street, and Wyatt's got this big duffel bag, and he's looking a little shaggy.
A little haggard.
Yeah, and he's like, Wyatt, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I just came to say hi. Presumably from another state or something. Like, it feels like he's very surprised to see Wyatt.
Yeah. And he's like, you changed your number.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's so funny.
And they're so distinctly different that I didn't expect them to have a history. I didn't think that that's how their stories were going to cross. I thought that there was going to be like more...
Like they'd be adversaries or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that there'd be more time before whatever was going to link them would link them. I didn't realize that the whole movie was going to be like about their relationship. Yeah, which is like a very interesting... subversion of expectation, you know.
Absolutely.
I think it works well though, because they are very different, but that's the source of their awkwardness. Like, they're old friends from like middle school, maybe.
I was gonna say, I think it was. I couldn't really. I thought it was high school, but
and they haven't seen each other in ages, and through conversation, you get a sense that Wyatt he is the way he is, plus his problem that he has. But
that's a sweet way of putting it.
Christian has done a lot of work to become the new him. And he's like being this person that he's not usually.
Very dude bro energy.
Yeah, he's like he's dominating life. That's his goal.
Yeah.
But anyway, he asks he's like, where are you staying? What's going on? And Wyatt, I think, lies about staying with someone.
I know he lies.
Yeah. He's like, I'm just staying with friends.
Because he vaguely points up the street. That's what he says. I'm staying with friends
that way.
Somewhere up the street. Like, bro.
Yeah. And Christian's like, oh, you should come in. And they're just kind of like awkwardly getting used to each other again after all this time. And
I know, and bless him for like trying to like turn down the offer to stay. He's just like, no.
Well, yeah, it was very obvious. It was like such blatant, just like, no, I got nowhere to go. I just came to say goodbye before I off myself kind of behavior.
Yeah. Honestly, it doesn't bode well. And when they're catching up, they're talking about they were both engaged at one point, and they haven't really touched base on that fact, and they realize that neither of them is engaged anymore.
Yeah.
They're both like,
that makes
how's
sense.
your girl? Where's your fiance? And they're both like, nope.
Yeah, don't. We don't talk about
They
that
both
one,
think the other one is married now, I think. They're both like, hey, you had a fiance, so like, how's married life?
That's right. Yeah.
And so Christian has this. He was living with his fiancee Kat, and he's still got an empty room full of her stuff that she left. And then he's like, "What about you, though, Wyatt? You're with Hannah now." And he's like, "Nope, there's no wedding." And he's like, "She cheated on me."
Yeah. And
the moment that Christian wants to ask a question about that, Wyatt's like, "Nah, we don't have to talk about that." Like. She didn't cheat on him. Like, that's not...
Yeah, I don't think that was the case. Yeah.
So there's a lot going on.
There's two possibilities in terms of that, but we'll get into those later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like Christian seems like pretty happy to see Wyatt and like really excited to hang out and catch up, but he has this date with his boss and like this cracked me up in 25 minutes, and then he proceeds to get ready for like 3 hours.
Classic,
yeah,
classic. What you expected from Man Bites Dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, I got this date, but yeah, you could like come with me if you, because she's bringing her friend, and you could just come along, and but I got to take a shower, and you should stay here. You should just spend the night here. And then while Christian is in the shower, I think that's when Wyatt goes down to the basement of the building.
He just starts doomsday prepping, baby.
Immediately.
That shit is crazy.
He goes right downstairs to like check out the space, and he's like, he has a knife, and he tapes it under the table.
It's like, I don't think that's what he meant by make yourself at home.
Yeah. And he's like, he doesn't just tape it under the table, he like practices how easy it is to grab it in one move. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh my God, what the fuck
he's setting up for like a John Wick situation.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting, and it made me wonder at this point, because at this point you don't know either of their names, because they haven't they don't say either of their names for like a while.
Oh,
and it made me think that he might be one of the non-people. Because at this point, you know that the synopsis is somebody starts getting these calls and things go from there. That's all I knew. The one sentence I knew is a man starts getting phone calls warning him of like impending doom. And I was like, okay, cool.
That's really all you should know going into this too.
So at that point, I didn't know who was going to get the calls. I didn't know who was, know. So I was like, holy shit, which one of these guys should I be wary of?
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
It's nerve-wracking right out of the gate.
Love that about it.
Because the synopsis does say the name Wyatt, which I tried not to read as I was like loading it up on Shudder, but like I couldn't not see the name Wyatt.
Yeah. It's pretty prominently displayed.
So I was like, okay, Wyatt will be the protagonist, but at that point you don't know who's Wyatt.
You don't know who Wyatt is.
So even on that level, at this point you're
you have to get your bearings with the two of them. Mm-hmm. So he's like, man, these guys need help. Wyatt's downstairs, like, stashing weapons, and Christian's in the shower, and he's, like, got his face on the mirror, and he's like, don't be a bitch. Don't be a little pussy.
These guys need
the only thing that makes you unhappy is when you're a little bitch.
Have you guys ever seen China, Illinois?
Oh, yeah.
No.
I love that show.
I just imagine Frank. Don't be a little bitch. Don't be a bitch, Frank. You got this. You're going to be a big man like Steve.
Fucking Steve. Fucking Steve always gets laid. I never get laid.
Don't be a bitch.
Dude, that show slaps so hard.
It's so good. It's so good. Oh. Baby Cakes inspired me to rap.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
No, not true, but
it all began.
Baby Cakes. And anyway, I'm sorry.
We recommend that show to anyone.
It was just big Frank energy. Don't be a bitch. You are the mountain.
Jesus, I know, seriously.
I could absolutely see him listening to that tape.
Right.
So, Wyatt comes back upstairs from the basement, having done nothing at all.
That's when he asks.
Oh, hey there. And Christian's like, the girls are very excited to hang out. I just need you to help me shave my back real quick.
Bro, shave my back. It's not gay.
Yeah. And then they go out to meet up with the ladies, and Christian's doing his domination thing. Mara calls him, and Wyatt's like, why aren't you answering that? He's like, oh, if it's important, she'll text me, just gotta be cool. And Wyatt swipes answer on his phone because Wyatt cares about things. And Christian takes the call, and it's Mara telling them that they're at the hospital. They're on their way to the hospital.
Yeah, he's just reacting very.
They're not there, but they're gonna probably go, and then they go meet up with the women. Mm-hmm. And Mara's friend Sandy has fallen on the ice.
She fucked herself.
She gave herself a black eye on the ice in New York City. And Wyatt shows his skills as a medical professional.
I'm not sure.
I think they
just say he's good at this sort of thing.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, they just say he's good at this sort of thing. That's
and he like takes his cell phone flashlight and he's like looking in her eyes, and
for some reason I thought he was an EMT. Maybe it's just the way he acts.
He might have been.
They literally say, I was going to bring this up. Literally, when he's like, "Oh, you should bring her to the hospital just to be safe," and they're like, "No, well, EMTs are perverts who smell like fish or smell like French fries."
Is that what she said?
She literally says that. I don't know why.
A lot of the dialogue is really weird and like stilted.
How many EMTs have you encountered? Having dated an EMT, that's not true. I will tell you.
She fucked one and he sucked. That's the sense I get.
There you go.
I mean, yeah.
And now all of them are perverts who smell like French fries.
I think she just didn't want to,
Yeah, no, but that's why I think it's confusing that he might have been. It's implied, or like I think you thought it was implied because they bring up EMTs.
Maybe that's why.
But yeah, they just say he's good at this stuff, and it's just like, okay.
I mean, kudos to him for looking in her eyes.
I know, it's just like
knowing him.
Yeah.
I did find it interesting that basically Wyatt's presence is why she is there. If Wyatt was not there, this woman would not have hurt herself, and the date would have gone differently for Christian and Mara.
You think so? I got the impression that they were already bringing a friend, or Mara was already bringing her friend.
No, when he goes into the bathroom, he's like talking to himself, and he's like, "Oh, hey, I know it's last minute, but could you bring a friend? Because I got,
that's right.
Like he's like rehearsing with himself what to say to her,
and being all embarrassed that he has to ask if his friend can come along.
Yeah, and so that's why I think when she calls later, he's trying extra hard to be a dominating asshole because he had to. Like, he gave leeway because of his friend, and then he's like, "This isn't me. I'm a cool guy. I gotta."
Yeah, and he's like really nervous as he explains to Wyatt his boss is a boss bitch, and she makes men cry. And Wyatt's like, "Oh, she doesn't sound very nice."
And then you don't really get that sense from her at all.
She's awesome.
She's awesome.
Yeah,
she's really cool.
Yeah, she just seems like a normal, cool person.
Yeah. Anyway, they end up at the hospital. Because it is the right thing to do when you fall and hit your head.
Yeah, and she said she doesn't remember hitting her head, which is like
that's
very
pretty
bad.
Yeah, pretty bad.
Yeah, and then you get this great match cut of Christian and Mara and Wyatt just sitting in the hospital for hours, like playing games and sleeping and just whiling away the hours while they wait for Sandy.
It's interesting too because all their body language and stuff, you would think that Mara and Wyatt were the ones that were like gonna get together because you see like Wyatt leans towards her and she leans towards him at different times, and Christian is kind of just like sitting straight and sort of trying to be like, yeah, I'm a cool guy, I'm over here doing my thing. And it's just like
he's trying to be a mountain over there.
God, even like the exchange afterwards when this is done, it's just like, bro, stop being so awkward.
Yeah, I mean, like aside from what all is going on in Wyatt's head, I think he's quite a catch, actually.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's
pretty bad what's going on.
He's a compassionate guy. Like at the end, at the end of the day, it's a story of him trying to, regardless of everything, save his best friend.
Yeah. He's doing everything he does because he gives a shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. His childhood best friend, who he's lost touch with maybe over the last year, the last troubled year of both of their lives.
This is the person that he chose to reach out to.
Yeah, something that happens in adulthood. You just kind of like maybe for a
gravitate
year or two,
towards back.
You're doing other things. We're doing music. Evelyn's doing film. You're just kind of hanging out with musicians and filmmakers. You're not really hanging out with your friends that you just like,
exactly
drinking bullshit with because you're handling other stuff. It doesn't mean you don't care about them and you don't want to like see them, but you just
I have had
shifts.
plenty. I've had plenty of times where it's been like I haven't seen people in like years. Come back to it, meet up for lunch or whatever. It's like nothing ever changed. You know what I mean? Like
you just have to have that
passed.
security of that relationship. There's you just have to have that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there is that sort of they're very awkward, Christian and Wyatt, trying to find their way around each other again, but like they have that foundation of friendship, and you can see that
you see it come together very quickly.
Over the
it's
over the
a
course
little
of a couple of days
at first. Then when he offers him a place to stay, you sort of get the sense that they're like friends, but not really close
like
friends.
That close,
or like a lot has changed, But
you also see
they
Christian
bond
is
again
like,
quickly.
Mm-hmm.
He's like he's more like you know what, like whatever, like come on in, it doesn't matter, like it's like he's more like chill to the notion like Wyatt's got his like
I get the impression like he seems just really chill at first, and then over time, based on some of the things that come up, it feels like maybe Christian is trying to make up for having been the one who ghosted. Like he's trying really hard to be
definitely feels like that.
Well, I
a good host and be really open because he's the one who just fucked off and changed.
I think that's part of it, and I think part of it too is that like in these friendship dynamics, like especially when you have a large group, but even just between two people, there can be sort of this dynamic of like, oh, he's the one who like takes point, and he's the one who's sort of like the leader or whatever. And I sort of get the notion that like Christian feels like he's the second fiddle to this guy, and so he had to distance himself to be able to like grow in this way. And now he sort of sees like, I'm the one in the better position, and not in a bad way.
He definitely thinks of himself as the main character of his life, which you should, but also he thinks.
I don't think he thinks less of Wyatt for being in a bad position, but it's sort of. It is his chance to be the alpha between them, but I don't know to what percentage that's his motivation, because it seems more altruistic than that, but I feel like there is a psychological element for him of that.
For sure.
Yeah.
I do love that, like, from the outset and through the entire film, you never get the sense that Christian doesn't care what's going on with Wyatt. Like, he doesn't know what's going on with Wyatt, but he's like, basically, well, when you're ready to tell me what it is, I'm here.
He's a really good friend in that aspect. I mean, towards the end, it's just like you show truly how much you can trust a person, but he's just like, well, if we get to the point before you leave that you want to open up to me, I'm ready to listen. And I mean it's a great way to support someone too. It's just like you don't always have to solve everyone's problems, just be there for them, And
there's a great back and forth between exploring either of their problems. So when they're leaving the hospital, I'm not sure. I guess Wyatt leaves separately or something, but it's they've left the hospital, and it's Christian and Mara at the end of what would have been their date.
Yeah, this is it's pretty painful to watch.
This is a really painful scene. So they're like, they just did, I think everyone's had at least one date that didn't. It just became not a date because there was something else going on that was a bigger deal. But it still is a date because you spend time together and you learn about each other, and how you like deal with something like having to take your date's friend to the hospital and look after them, and like if that goes well, like that's points, like big points.
Absolutely.
Like, okay, so you're there for people when they need you. So like big points for Christian. And they're like having this moment on the subway stairs, and they're about to go their separate ways, and they're smiling at each other, and it's all cute, and like the kiss should be happening. And it's just not happening.
But instead you get a firm thank you handshake.
Christian he can't bring himself to do that lean in, and Mara, who is very comfortable with herself, she's like, well, don't get any ideas. It's very playful and cute. Which is a great cute second chance to kiss her anyway. And something happens inside Christian, and he says don't flatter yourself.
This motherfucker.
And then he just gets on the fucking train, and she's like, what?
What the fuck just happened?
Ow.
Real douchebag hours.
Yeah, in
yes.
his effort to not seem too
he
anxious.
Answer her and stuff.
Yeah, he just like straight up insulted her.
He is
idiot.
the holy disciple of Andrew Tate.
Holy disciple. That's fucking amazing.
Ew, you thought I wanted to kiss you? Whatever, virgin.
What?
What?
Like, I know you can't fire people for stuff like that, but you know, bro, she is your boss.
Yeah, exactly.
Like at least
some report.
Like,
think about Monday.
Yeah.
You ask your boss on a date and then you snub them. Like, what in the world?
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, he was...
I think he's less right in the mind than Wyatt.
He went too far with don't be a bitch.
That's a really interesting point, Joey, is like, I didn't think about it until now, but it really is like... And I try not to use this word lightly, but it really is like they are both kind of going through different types and levels of delusions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, they're both just not connecting with reality, but in different ways. And
he's very distanced from reality, I think, Christian, in terms of like how like societal norms work. You know what I mean? Or like just like I don't know, just regular ass relationships. How how they function.
He just thinks being a dick is going to get him ahead in life because he's probably been
like read a book about it once.
Yeah, he thinks that's what people want to see from him.
I think he's been bullied, and he's just like, why do you get to succeed in all this stuff? So like now I'm gonna be that guy, and it's just like, it's not a hard and fast rule. I don't know why it happens. It sucks, but like just being a dick isn't enough. I don't know what the X factor is that makes it so that. You know, assholes seem to get ahead all the time, but like it's I don't know, man.
I mean, on the Venn diagram, it's confidence, but confidence could come from more than one place.
Yeah, totally.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but Wyatt's very nice about like when they're back at Christian's place. Wyatt's like, I mean, yeah, you shouldn't have said that, but like she probably still likes you. Like it'll be fine.
Yeah.
He's very like supportive of. Yeah, you said a dumb thing, but. It's all good.
Again, this is like a super sweet relationship between them. Yeah. Like they're very loving. It's very nice to see.
They're good friends that have just, not seen each other in a while.
Yeah.
So they go to sleep. Wyatt's sleeping on the floor. And he has his first dream about we go back to where we were at the beginning with his fiance.
Yeah.
And we see what he saw, which is he's laying in the dark, looking at his fiance, just the edge of her, the side of her face, and her jaw starts to open, and there's all this crackling.
Too wide. You gotta love a creepy jaw.
Yeah.
You gotta love a creepy jaw.
Yeah, and then these things are all very quick. Like, you don't get... He saw much more than that, but you just get a hint of, like...
You get the taste of that.
What he's dealing with all the time and what has caused him to, like, break off his engagement and, like, leave town and do all these things that he's doing. And when he sees these things, there's the sound of flies...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, the sound in this movie is so good.
It took me a while to figure out the significance of the fly sound, but it clicked after a while.
Yeah, so there's this like sound of.
I'm curious. Wait,
I don't know.
What's your?
So later in the movie, he talks to somebody else, and he says, "Do you ever hear things that aren't there?" And I think they say yes, and then he's
talking to Mara.
He keeps going about it, and during a lot of his episodes, there's the sounds of the fly. So I think maybe it could be hearing a fly sets him off, or it could just be that it's part of everything that he's like experiencing and,
it's
and like
the delusion.
It's the audio aspect of his.
It's something
like schizophrenia.
It's part of it. It's definitely part of it.
Yeah,
That's the sound that he hears that's not there because he says
could
that.
either be. It could be a sound that he hears, or it could be our audio indication of what it feels like to him.
Well, because
this like sick feeling of like, oh, there is decay and danger nearby, like right next to me. It could be just for us.
Well,
it's either in his head or no.
Well, he says later, "Do you hear sounds that aren't there?" And then thinking back, I was like, what sounds have we heard that are not there?
Yeah.
And
I thought he was referring to phone calls.
I thought it might have been the phone calls too, but that also makes sense.
But there are many sides to this thing.
Yeah, in terms of purely auditory things, it's that, because I feel like the phone calls are something else, because Christian later says, "I saw you outside." So he's picking up the phone and going outside. Which, like, he does have an actual phone call.
That's right.
But
right.
We're about to get into that.
Yeah.
When he's laying in the dark, he wakes up from his nightmare about remembering his fiance, and he has a phone call from this deep voice, way too deep.
So cool.
This like, sort of like the voice in Saint Maud. This like demon. Sort of it's not a demon though, because it's telling him about demons.
Yeah.
Just like maybe the voice of God or something like that, who's letting him know, like this is not the first phone call he's gotten. This is one of many.
Yeah.
Just letting him know, like, you need to get out of the cities.
Oh, yeah.
This is a voice that has been warning him about a coming war.
Yeah. Question mark? Yeah.
Yeah, these demonic beings that take over everyone you know. Mm-hmm. And the voice is just like lecturing him on like, you can't look them in the eyes.
It's like they were present. I forgot what city. It was like a biblical city it mentions, but it's like they were present.
He was like King Solomon and like a lot of things that are biblical.
They've always been there, but now it's more common, and like
it's so cool.
Yeah,
it's such a cool setup. It's just like, ooh, what the fuck is going on, dude?
Yeah, and the voice is like, I think this is the first time he gets the phone call, and the voice is like, don't look at Christian, don't look over.
Don't look over.
And he's like, you want to save your friend, but he won't believe you. So the voice is like trying to compel him to like, well, you just need to leave the city and leave your friend. And but Wyatt
at first, it's only telling him to leave, but then
Wyatt wants to save Christian.
Yeah.
In the process of surviving this biblical war that's going to happen, he really wants to be able to take his friend with him. So he has this really creepy phone call, of which he has a lot. And then his response afterwards, I don't know at this point, like he goes down to the basement a lot in this film. I think maybe he goes down there to check on things. And then
see if the weapons are still where he left them.
Yeah. And he goes outside to call his psychiatrist.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that was.
And Christian sees him on the phone. And I think Wyatt's trying to make an appointment to see his doctor.
Oh, you're so right. You're right.
Because he's trying to like deal with it. Like he knows. And this is what sets this movie apart from. I've seen people say like, you don't know, you're not sure if it is or it isn't. But like the movie, to me, the question isn't whether he is schizophrenic. I think it's very, very clear that he is. Well, to me, it's clear. But the question is whether he's going to hurt someone.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that he's schizophrenic. And I think that part of that, like, because when he talks to his doctor, they make a point of saying, like, I don't think I'm schizophrenic. And in a lot of these movies, schizophrenia is sort of the fallback catch-all.
It's the blanket term,
and it's like, in reality, if you were like this. I don't want to say far gone, you know. I don't want to like.
Yeah.
But if
it's not offensive.
If you're like this
you're
it,
fine.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would be much more complex than just saying one thing, regardless of what that thing would be. So I feel like it's accurate that he isn't schizophrenic, but has a lot going on and has like a multiple complex diagnoses.
There's something,
you know what I mean? And I thought
that has a hold on him.
And I thought it was interesting that they would flat out be like, he's not schizophrenic.
He said it.
Yeah. Even if it is just him saying it and he's unreliable, just to make the point of like not every mental illness in a movie.
His doctor didn't say that, but he was like, I don't think that I am.
I feel like the only reason why I feel like it might have been heavily implied is just because auditory hallucinations are part of that diagnosis.
Like receiving a phone call from a voice is very much
on.
Totally. But then sort of some of the stuff later is like it's like it could be, but it's also it's just so much. It's just so much going on, and it's such a fallback on these movies to be like, schizophrenia is complex. This guy said,
Yeah.
But the DSM-5 is just such a, I don't even know what volume they're on, but it's like that is
now
always
that's what I call
evolving.
mental illness.
Exactly. God damn it. That was so good. Exactly. Those ones are always evolving, though. You know what I mean? They're never staying the same.
One of my best friends, he used to be one of my best friends, and we're not friends anymore because he stopped taking his medication. And the thing that happens with a lot of people who are like severely mentally ill, like I have another friend who's bipolar, and he's had many, many episodes in his life. I've pulled a shotgun out of his mouth. You know, shout out. You know who you are, and you know that I love you. You know,
we love you, buddy.
But you know, what happens often is that you start taking your medication and you feel great for like a year or two, 5 years, and then you're like, I feel great. I don't think I have these issues anymore. I'm going to stop taking my medication. And so that
Very
happened
bad choice.
with this other friend, and because of that, he just became very paranoid and very reclusive, and he just flat out was like, I don't like you. You guys are pod people. And we were just like, okay,
Jesus
all right,
Christ.
you know. But it's just like,
and you technically are a pod person now.
Yeah,
but I mean,
that's hilarious.
I'm sorry.
No, that was great. That was fantastic.
So sorry.
But I'm still close with his sister. And we were talking, and I was like, hey, you know, I never prodded, and it's not really my business, but I'm just curious, like, what was his diagnosis? And she was like, it was too complex. They never gave they were just like, you are, you know, very much on the spectrum, and have like it's easier to say the symptoms than to try to like give it a name.
Yeah, exactly.
So
because I think it's easier to just bottle cap it into one, just saying schizophrenia.
It's
you know
a la
what I mean?
carte.
Like,
Exactly. And like for him, I wouldn't even doubt that there's an element of that at play, but I don't truly know, especially because I've never really known him when he's severely in the throe of it. He like within a couple months, he just was like, I don't fuck with none of y'all. I hate all of you. You know what I mean? So it was just like,
I mean, my dad was
tough.
schizophrenic, so I mean, I know, you know, firsthand how it can be, but he's also bipolar, you know, like there's a lot of other underlying issues. So it wasn't really, that was itself was a blanket diagnosis for that man. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You can't really rely on that to be a full.
Exactly, because the doctor is just like, this is the closest.
I don't fucking know.
The medication for this is helping you, so fucking, you know.
Exactly.
So it's very complicated. It's very new medicine.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry to have detracted.
No. This is what we're here for.
This is good to dig into.
Absolutely. So back to Wyatt.
Yeah. So I mean, Wyatt has his late night phone call with his psychiatrist, and then he goes back to bed, and then Christian gets up. Very late night for everyone. Christian was pretending to be asleep at that point, but he saw Wyatt make the call, and then he went down to the corner shop and made a set of keys for Wyatt. He's like, I mean, I don't think, you know, Wyatt says he's going to leave in a few days, but like, my buddy should be able to get in and out of somewhere. Yeah. He's like, he's probably going to stay.
Yeah. He was like, I got bus tickets at the beginning, and it was like, you don't have bus tickets.
You don't have bus tickets, bro. We know damn well that's a lie.
Yeah, but Christian does a good job of not being like, is that true? He just lets
you know, and again, like, we talk about a true friend.
So
being like, hey, we ain't
supportive.
got to talk about it. We ain't got to talk about
Honestly.
shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So Wyatt's like, I don't need keys, and he's like, well, you know, it's New York. You need keys.
You need kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Which
is
which
true.
which is a good
Super
point.
sweet.
You're going to need to get inside at some point. You don't want to just be standing
Absolutely.
around outside forever.
Yeah. And
Like-
immediately Wyatt gets the keys, like Christian goes off wherever he goes to work or whatever, and then Wyatt's like testing the door, like, can you get in with a credit card? Like he's like just looking around like how fortified is this apartment? Just straight back to researching and gathering weapons and whatnot.
It's so
Doing that recon.
It's so funny because a lot of the tools that he gets, I literally have those tools.
that exact same set.
Yeah, the axe and hatchet, I have those.
That's awesome. You're just looking at it like, damn.
Yeah, those
I think he's-
bright yellow tools.
I think he sold his laptop to get. He's just like on a street corner
Yeah.
He bought an axe
I know, that was...
You're right.
from a guy on a corner.
You're right.
He met him, or maybe he didn't sell his laptop, but like
no,
he,
you're
he-
right. He sold his laptop. That's what happened.
He
goes,
met up with someone.
He goes to this place twice, and later on it'll kind of loop back, but in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
But he goes. You just see him on the street, and he hands a guy his laptop, and then gets money, and then he goes to
Yeah.
the hardware store and starts
Oh,
buying
okay,
all
okay.
these like tools.
He didn't buy the axe on the street.
I was gonna say, like, what the fuck, like, that... No, wasn't it? Yeah, but...
Like, this is not how
Late-
New York City
later,
works.
though.
Exactly, like, they just do it different over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's like buying stuff now, and you're like, okay.
He really prepping.
Yeah, and when he's wandering around, like, he goes in that room where Christian has all his fiance's things, and he has like for a moment he's like, oh, and he's like remembering, you know, just when they were both with someone, and he finds a picture of himself with his fiance Hannah, and Hannah's face is all fucking twisted and horrible in the picture.
And I found it interesting
That
that
was
it's
fucking
like
awesome.
that it's like knowing that they're there and who they are, even though it's like you can't tell immediately kind of thing. It seems like once you know who they are, sort of the in-universe, like in his head rules are like, now he can't unsee their true nature.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
permanent.
yeah.
It's like even in that picture, that's who she really was, but anyone else would see her actual face.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
so it's just this sort of like, what could the logic possibly be that like actually works out? You know what I mean?
Well, you know, they look like people.
Yeah.
Hey, she said the thing.
Yeah, and this is the part where he meets up with his psychiatrist in a park, which makes me wonder where he does live, because I guess this is his doctor, so maybe he doesn't live so far away. I don't really
I know, and like to meet...
get that.
What do you have, like an on-call, on-site therapist?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could see maybe I've never been to a therapist, so I don't know, like, in terms of what a doctor might be willing to do for you. If you're like too freaked out to meet indoors, would your doctor be willing to
Yeah, I mean...
hang out in the park to talk?
Yeah.
Depending.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
So they're like standing by this lake and they're just having a chat. This movie takes place in the winter, which adds to the gloomy nature of it.
A lot of overcast. Yeah, I know, it's not like
Yeah.
ever, like, sunny.
And yeah, the beginning of that scene is Wyatt being like, I'm not schizophrenic. I know, I've looked it up. It's not right. And the doctor doesn't like confirm or deny that.
Yeah, he says, like, I Googled some stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
While I was buying axes.
Yeah.
it's so fucking strange.
And taping garbage bags over windows.
Yeah.
Oh no! What he said, what he actually says.
In the
I don't
basement.
think I'm schizophrenic. I looked up some stuff online.
Yeah. And they
The most vague fucking thing.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly all they discussed, but they have this very frank conversation about like Wyatt goes into it a little bit. I feel like the doctor knows some of the problem of what Wyatt sees.
Yeah, they don't actually finish the conversation though because it's interrupted by the noise.
Yeah, he starts to hear. Well, he asks, "Can you get me medication?"
Yeah, that's right.
Because he comes so close to maybe getting medicated for something.
So
He's like, "Is there something that you can give me?" And the
so
doctor's like, "Absolutely. we can make an appointment for, and he's like going on about it. As soon as he
starts in the fly and like flies sound comes in.
Yeah, he starts to hear the flies.
It sounds like flies and white noise mixed together. Yeah. It's like fucking unsettling. It's like just metal in a blender or some shit. Like,
and you have these amazing like claustrophobic shots of the side of Wyatt's face, and he's like he's such a good actor. His eyes are just like, he's like, oh shit, and he's like too afraid to look over
at him. Yeah, it's so cool.
And like from all the shots that you see the Doctor, he looks normal, but you know that Wyatt sees something else.
The tension is so palpable. You know,
absolutely.
You know that he like, when he turns around, he just all of a sudden becomes terrified of like, what if he's one of them? What if I can't trust him?
Yeah.
Like, up until then, he was like, I can trust this person. I can trust this person.
Yeah.
And then in that exact moment, it just like flipped in his mind, and he was just
you're right. Wyatt is such a good fucking actor too. The guy playing him,
he's amazing,
fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And a way to convey those emotions just with his face.
And then when he turns around, I feel like he doesn't see anything, but he's so scared that he will. And then as soon as he turns around and the tension relieves for us, I feel like it does for him as well. But he's still like shook, like his heart's heart's still pounding, and he's just like, okay, all right, cool, thanks for
and the doctor gives him a card.
The card,
and he takes the card and he leaves the park and he throws the card away.
Jesus
He's
Christ,
like, no,
man.
I just can't interact with this guy anymore. Yeah, and this is
so
like
sad.
From the phone calls and the discussion about this coming war, you know, he's in the streets. Somehow he has the courage to be in the streets every day, and like he's just like watching this thing overtake the population one person at a time.
It would have been nice to get a scene of him traversing from place to place, not all the time, but just once, of him just like really trying to avoid people. That would have been like a nice
it would have
touch.
definitely solidified the fact that he's just like, he cannot make eye contact.
The closest we got, I think at one point he was on the train.
Oh yeah,
that's true.
And there was a guy across the train from him staring at him, just like normal, like in the city, someone's gonna be a creepy fucking stare at you and make you uncomfortable. And that's all that was. But like, he's like, no, eye contact is dangerous. Like he got up and left because this guy was staring at him. He's like, nope. I'm out in the open. I can't.
Great fucking shot.
Yeah.
Have we gotten in this part yet? Have we gotten to where the voices are telling him like, are you prepared to like kill someone who looks exactly like your loved ones?
I think that's the next part.
Oh, it's the next one. Okay, because I was like, they keep hitting that beat when you go.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't make any notes on. A few notes on what comes up in each phone call, but like not the. I was compelled to.
Yeah.
It's all just the same. There's doom. There's like one important message, really.
Yeah, it advances. There's like one nugget of information in each phone call.
And it's mostly just advancing his idea that the war is getting more and more prevalent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's
there are a couple of things that I'll bring up per phone call.
But the flavor is mostly the same.
And then we're at Christian's job, which I don't know what exactly. Maybe it's like
something in design. They mentioned there's a design branch. I don't know.
Yeah. Very hip and cool. And Christian he's recording something in the whisper room. He calls it.
Here we go.
The little recording booth.
I put it's ASMR time, folks.
So hot.
Yeah,
We just got one of these at my job. I don't know why, because we don't record sound, but it's there. I went in there and I screamed. And
it's good for that.
And my buddy Lionel heard nothing. I came out and he's like, "Did you really make a sound?" I was like, "Yeah, I was screaming." And he's like, "Are you lying?"
Like, no, top of my lungs, bro. Like I'm a little hoarse right now.
Yeah, so it works.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that's so funny, dude.
We need one of those for the podcast, I think.
Exactly. Yep, we will.
Cricket
you know, for all the screaming.
Yeah, for all the screaming we need.
And yes, to keep the crickets out.
To keep the crickets
He'll get in. He'll find his way in. So Mara joins him in there, which is an indication that, it's okay. Like she still likes him, and they have a really cute, really flirty time in there.
Cute time,
Yeah.
And they're just like, quipping back and forth, and she's like, I heard that how you gave me that bottle of peach schnapps when I first started working here. I heard that someone told me you do that with all the girls. And he's like, well, yeah, I do.
And he's like, I'm a bit of a douchebag myself.
But she just calls him on all of it. Like, she's not interested in, she knows.
The front. She don't want the front.
Yeah, she knows he has a good core, and she's like putting in a lot of, reasonable time and effort into trying to get him to drop that shit.
She really does.
Yeah.
Bless her for it.
And they're like reading each other's palm lines and stuff, and she's like, oh shit, you see this line right here? It means you're an idiot. And he's like, yeah, okay.
I like that.
That was so funny. That's what I'm saying.
That's my take on palm reading.
It's like, I love that you get more endeared to her character, like, as she goes on, because you don't really know. Like, I think it was because I was reading it more from, like, he's being awkward towards her, so I don't know how much he really wants this and stuff. Like, I don't know, like, I guess that was, like, the first reading of it. But, yeah, once I go in, it's like, yeah, he just really is socially awkward.
Yeah, it's a little hard to tell how much he really is willing to invest in it. Like, I feel like he's probably...
She's very much in this.
Yeah, but she's also a professional, and she's like, I mean, if this doesn't work out, then it's fine.
Yeah.
But he's like... He hasn't really fully figured himself out yet. He's still struggling. Like, he's recently, maybe in the last year, like, parted ways with his fiancée. Yeah. So, he might not be ready. But yeah, she knows who she is.
Yeah.
And there's this great scene also where they're out in the park somewhere, and they're just, walking around and flirting, and she does jujitsu, and she's trying to teach him how to do a few moves, and she whoops his ass. She flips him, and he's like, "Holy shit!" And she's like, "Yeah, you gotta be careful." And then she's like teaching him how to do a sleeper hold on her, and she's like, "It's like a hug, but you just hold the neck
put some
like
back
that."
into it.
And he's like, he's too scared that he might actually knock her out. He's like, and she's like, "Just don't be a pussy."
That's all you gotta do, is just not be a bitch.
Yeah, just
in all their flirting, in all their flirting, it's very clear that it could work out if he would just be himself.
Yeah, get the fuck out of his own way.
Because she's so awesome.
Yeah, she's very, very cute.
Yeah. And then while he's at work, Wyatt is in the basement.
Oh, man.
On the phone.
What's Wyatt up to? Let's check in.
He's got all his weaponry downstairs.
Yeah, you do.
I'm not, that's where I'm not sure, what, between those two phone calls, what was different.
I think this is the one. Yeah, you're right. I think you're right. This is the one where they start saying it's one thing to kill a demon or something like that. But it's another thing.
That's why he's got axes and stuff.
Exactly, and he's like, it's another thing to kill someone that looks or something that looks exactly like someone you love.
This might be where he bought a nail gun.
Yeah. Oh, the nail gun and shit is cool.
And he's testing it out.
That shit is terrifying.
And he's like, holy shit.
This is where we also get the suicidal ideation, though, because he sticks that nail gun in his fucking...
Yeah, and that's brute. That's not going to kill you.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I do not think for 1 second that that's going to kill you, but that is
absolutely
bad.
Not. Dude, I was so nervous. I was like, oh my god.
I was like, what do you... I was like, does he think one's in his head? Like, what are you gonna,
Yeah, that'll I mean, he's never heard of Phineas Gage, clearly.
Thankfully, I've never been shot with a nail gun, but you see people who have accidents on work sites and stuff like that. And to, an extent, you can imagine things within these films. I just think about, not even the pain, but, putting your tongue on the roof of your mouth and feeling, the flat bottom of a nail.
Fucking stop.
The guy with Kakihara's scars on his face is telling me that this is too much. But I just think of tonguing that, and that seems worse than the pain.
That's disgusting.
He's like, I'm gonna have to tell this to my therapist after my next scarification session.
God, yeah, exactly. Oh my god, that's so fun. Yeah, I just can't. I don't know, man. I love body horror. It's my favorite and least favorite fucking genre.
You like it over there.
I like it over there. Such a good way of putting that. Where were we?
So, Christian has been dominating at work.
Oh yeah, he getting it.
And
securing that bag.
When he comes home, Wyatt finally has reached a point where he's like ready to start maybe trying to bring it up. Like, he hasn't explained to Christian at all what's going on, and he's like, maybe he would believe me if I could just find the right way to say it. Mm-hmm. And he's like poking at it. He's like, have you ever experienced anything supernatural? And Christian doesn't really have anything to say about that. And he's like, have you ever been in a fight? Like, have you ever been mugged or anything like that?
Like playing a pickup game of like basketball. It's just fucking
and
weird time to drop that on someone.
Christian's like, he takes it personally. Like, he has no idea that Wyatt's like asking about himself.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've changed, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the same person I was, okay?
Yeah,
like,
he asks him, like, would you have my back in a fight or something like that? He says, like, would you be in my corner if I needed you, essentially?
Yeah.
I'm different, bro.
Yeah, Christian's like, what are you trying to say? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, he took offense to it somehow.
Yeah, and Wyatt's like, oh, well, this is not the time.
Ain't about you, dog.
Yeah.
Saying about you.
Yeah. And then, yeah, they're hanging out at Christian's place, and Wyatt's like, remember when we played Blobby Wars?
This fucking scene.
I should say, too, I think it's the therapist who says, like, he brings up Christian and he's like, oh, the skinny kid?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so he...
Yep.
Okay, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
He had brought that up, so you get the sense that, again, Christian was like this
on his mind.
small, bullied kid who probably sort of more followed Wyatt around, and Wyatt was like his one friend or whatever.
Okay, that's a great catch.
Yeah, so that's why he's so like... He's like, I've changed, and he flexes when he's that's
right.
He's like, I have muscle now.
Yeah, he's like, I have muscles now, and like I'm different.
Yeah, he's like, I'm an alpha.
I'm a big kid now.
Yeah, and
alpha.
Wyatt's like sad and lonely, and he's like, remember Blobby Wars? And Christian's like, man, we were so stupid. And Wyatt kind of seems like, oh. And then 1 second later, they're playing Blobby Wars.
Well, they talk about going out, too. And he's like, yeah.
We're
for sure going to go out. And then cut to them hammered at home.
Yeah.
They're fucking covered in sheets, like roaring at each other. And like they're holding pillows, maybe, I think, underneath. Yeah. They're like bumping into each other.
They're being blobs and like bumping off of each other.
It's so funny.
It's funny because we talked about it yesterday. That a lot of people online say that there's like a lot of homoerotic subtext, and that I was like,
I'm not buying it.
I was like, oh, it didn't really like register to me because I guess me and my friends just do a lot of like homoerotic weird shit for straight dudes to do anyway. I don't know. We're very much about being affectionate, and like we're not touching each other doesn't freak us out. So to other people, they would think like, oh, it's kind of weird these guys.
I think on a homophobic scale that would be considered gay. I don't think there's any gayness in it.
No, it's not. Yeah. It's really just like two guys being fucking kids again. Like.
They're just remembering that, oh yeah, we're best friends. I forgot.
Mm-hmm. Totally, but I think just to a lot of people it would read that way because of what they perceive masculinity to be, which I think is of a point of the movie at that.
Yeah.
The movie, exactly.
Someone's got like they're keeping tabs. They're like, oh, shave your friend's back? Check.
Exactly.
Talk about your... be afraid to talk about your feelings and then cry? Check.
It's
so gay.
It's more just like doing things that, other dudes would like be scared to do and would find gay because they're homophobic, not because it's actually gay. So it's like when I said that, it's like jokingly.
For sure.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
It's
like-
I would shave my friend's back. Me and Danny share beds on tour. Like, what are we gonna do? There's only a certain amount of beds. Like, who cares?
The top review on Letterboxd is 2 bros chilling in the basement 5 feet apart because they're not gay. That's at the top.
That's hella funny.
But it's really funny though, because even himself, like Christian's character himself, is trying so hard to be like overly masculine.
Yeah.
And like trying to present himself.
It's like instead of going out and trying to get laid as 2 guys who've like just found out that they're both single, like Christian is like, bro, let's go out. Like, let's go try. Like, I feel like the undertone is like, let's go try to meet somebody. And Wyatt's like, well, I just want to like get drunk and hang out with you. And so, from the perspective of someone like Christian, or like the person that Christian wants to be, to like just do that would be like, you're prioritizing
of an
that
evening.
above.
Yeah.
So like in that sense, like it's not really necessarily gay or homoerotic or whatever, but it's just
exactly.
like to the hyper masculine, ew, I'm not gay. Like, it's like, I don't know, man. You can hug your friend, like, you can hold hands with your friend if that's what you're into.
do that.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah,
like,
do that. Life is too fucking short.
who cares?
And they end up having a great time. They just get fucking wasted. There's all these like
fucking turned.
handheld shots of them, just stumbling around, and like Wyatt's face down on the floor and he's talking and you can't understand anything
That
he's
shit was
saying. And it's like the first time that Wyatt has a good time.
Yeah.
He's
you
like,
see him really like let loose. And,
he's
like,
having
relax.
fun.
Yeah, and he says earlier that he had stopped doing like all drugs and that he's been clean on alcohol for 10 weeks. And that's how he knows when he's talking to his doctor that these delusions are not because of like drugs or alcohol, that it's something else. So he's like, what's going on with me?
Yeah, that's
but
an
now
interesting
he's
thing to
wasted.
have that. Yeah, exactly. But it's an interesting thing for him to have that sort of like that realization and like that sense of like, I do need help. Like, I know that something's not right, and
he's trying everything.
Yeah, exactly. Where he doesn't like give into the delusion so hard, because you see him, actively going and preparing for these things, and
just in case
it is getting scary. But he himself is like, I think I need to talk to someone.
He's being
like, he himself is like,
he's being very careful. Like, if this is real, I need to be ready to defend myself. But like, I'm gonna wait until the last second.
Yeah. His character the script treats his character very, very interestingly. I think.
Yeah, totally.
So they end up like totally wasted, and then they're like falling asleep, and they're everything is chill now, and they're just talking, and Christian is like, "Do you want to have kids, man? I want to have like 100 kids." It's just like,
all right,
his true self. He's just like, he's like this like bachelor extraordinaire who's like going out on the town all the time, but like what he really wants is to be a dad and have a family.
Yeah.
And like while he's saying that, Wyatt is holding a hammer. He's laying down on by the bed, and he's got a hammer, and you're like, oh my god,
fucking cradling
he's just constantly ready.
Yeah, and I saw someone online in terms of the whole like homoerotic versus masculine thing, just being like, having a bunch of kids and being virile is like the most masculine thing you can do. And I'm like,
Jesus Christ.
I guess in the sense that like the dichotomy of quote masculinity and homosexuality, because a lot of gay men, I should say, can be very masculine. Like people in general can be masculine, but like being gay doesn't mean that you have to.
There's an Instagram account that is one of my favorite things in the world. It's called Homo Macabre.
That's hilarious.
And it's just clips from gay porn. All of the bullshit that leads up to, there's no sex in any of this, but it's just like all of the shitty acting, and all these buff dudes will like a buff policeman will walk into a bar, and there's a buff bartender in there, and he's like, oh hey, I've never I've never seen, like, what's it like to run a bar? And he's like, here, I'll show you. And then they go
I'll show you
into the back of the bar and show him around and just, like, they're all very masculine.
Yeah.
I just love how consistent, like, the level of acting is this, like, very specific level of bad.
Yeah.
And it's just, you gotta check it out. It's so funny.
Absolutely, yeah. Send me that, first of all.
Shouts out to Homo Macabre. You're the best.
They just got the Devil's Work bump.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. They're gonna
keep doing what you do.
They're gonna get 2 more follows, and it's gonna be me and Sideshow.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I should mention these are all like kind of vintage, like 80s, 90s.
I love
I imagined it as such.
Spectacular.
So good, dude.
Yeah.
The JoJo fan in me is intrigued.
JoJo fan.
It's gonna change your life. This is when Wyatt has a dream about Christian.
Yeah, that nightmare sequence is fucking cool.
It's one of the spookiest.
It's very fucking cool.
Yeah, so he has this dream that he's in the apartment and he's standing there and Christian is standing across from him and smiling.
Very creepy smile.
Unnaturally.
Just staring and smiling, like, unblinkingly.
Mm-hmm.
And down the hallway, in the next doorway, there's this dark figure that comes in. And I think he, like, hears the flies and he hears maybe, like, that cicada sound that you hear in the movie The Thing.
True.
It works.
Very true.
It just works.
Yeah.
And this figure is, like, coming down the hallway behind Christian, and Wyatt is just getting more and more stressed out, and he's like, oh fuck, what do I, like, it at first it seems like Christian is the threat, and then this figure behind him seems like maybe more of a threat. And the figure comes right up behind Christian,
so eerie,
and puts his hands on Christian's forehead like he's about to split his
like grabbing the
head open,
like he's gonna unzip him. Speaking of The Thing, I think you just mentioned The Thing a second ago.
Yeah.
Very similar.
It kind of has that some of that vibe to it. So like it goes, at least to me anyway, you're like, okay, so he's dreaming that Christian is one of the things. Oh no, maybe this thing, or it's like a dream about infection.
Yeah,
that's how he describes it. Is this spreads by infection.
Yeah, and we don't know how they infect the host and all this stuff. The subtitles
so
on
he's
this
trying
film,
to figure it out.
The subtitles are not good because the audio is not good. So several times I had to be like, oh no, this pronoun should be a different one, or this preposition should be. It was like just weird things to the sentence of like, no, because our subtitles said, we don't know how to infect the host. And Amanda was like, what? And I was like, I think it's, we don't know how they infect the host.
Yeah.
The subtitle just picked it up weirdly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Okay,
you
that
gotta
did
do it
actually
by hand.
Yeah.
You gotta make your own subtitles. It's the only way to get it done right. And then it seems like the pattern here is like he'll have a nightmare, and then when he wakes up, he gets a phone call, which is just an extension of the, you know,
the nightmare,
the hallucination.
Yeah.
It could be the
It
next
goes
phase. Yeah, totally.
Which absolutely tracks in terms of like, I don't know of how like different mental illnesses work, but like in terms of watching Clifton, who has night terrors,
I do too.
the way that there's a thing that happens, like he'll see something, but he'll be sleeping, he'll sit up and he'll look in a direction immediately before it's not like he notices it. He sits up and looks, and from a dream state, he's already decided where it's going to be in the room, or his brain has decided. And I feel like it's like that. The spontaneity of the phone call, like he goes from a nightmare to there's going to be a phone call that explains.
Like what he just felt.
Yeah.
I'm so glad my night terrors aren't like as detailed, because I know if I open my eyes, I'm gonna see shit. It's like a full body sensation. Like when I like wake up into a night terror, I'm just like, oh, I'm having one of these, and I'm keeping my eyes closed. Like I know good and
I'm
damn
staying
well
home today.
Exactly. So for like half my life, I've kept my eyes closed during my night terrors. And I just like kind of have to try and like rock my body back and forth until one of my shoulders comes a little bit off the bed, and then I just like shoot up and wake
Jerk yourself,
wake up. Yeah.
Like actually wake up.
But I just know, like, I know the feeling, and I'm just like, haha, not today.
But not today, Satan.
But I still feel like terrified. But I'm just like, I know if I open my eyes, like, I've seen the shit. I don't need to see it again.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just really interesting to see, you know, that it's clearly like whatever part of his brain that does that has already picked out a location in the room where it's going to be.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's sort of that kind of thing that he's surprised to get a phone call, but like his brain decided that there's going to be a phone call now because of this nightmare.
It's like, what if he chose not to answer the phone call?
Right. But of course
it's like that. It's like if that was happening to you for years, and then you just stopped answering the phone calls, but then the war never came. You'd be like, okay,
yeah, exactly.
But,
okay, those phone, but then you'd never know. You would never answer the phone in the middle of the night ever, you know?
Yeah. And he feels that the war is coming either way, so it's better to be informed. Because if he's not informed, then he's definitely not going to make it. So he gets this phone call, and this phone call
this is what we're talking
in
about.
the voice of Mara.
Yeah, and this is also where I put that the voices are attempting to desensitize him to murder. And it's just like you don't
wearing him down.
Yeah, they're not really people.
Yeah,
don't worry about it.
You're so right. It is really like so dangerous, and it does kind of feel like, in a way, the sort of indoctrination and like desensitization that leads to like school shooting type stuff.
Yeah,
exactly.
Of being like, you know, it's a trend to be like, oh, you know, the gas station clerk NPC. You know, like he's just part of the simulation. That's just like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's just like, no, we need to bring back the sensation, the wonder of like, everyone has a life. What is your story?
But this phone call is a shift in a number of ways. For it to be in Mara's voice is very disconcerting.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we know Mara.
She's got such a cute voice too for how creepy this gets. And she's got a perfect voice for how creepy this gets.
Oh yeah, because it just doesn't fit. And yeah, the previous couple of phone calls have been sort of like preachy, like you have always known that this is the thing.
Yeah.
And this one is sort of more instructional, like next steps. She's like, now you know, you know, that we're among you, and this is, you have to take steps now, and you've been preparing. She says the monsters are vulnerable to acid.
Which,
Jesus
what is
Christ,
it?
Right?
Exactly.
Like, no shit, Sherlock. So yeah, that's a guaranteed way to stop the monsters. She says, when you hear 3 claps of thunder in a clear sky, that means the war has begun. And he's in the basement when she's laying this all out, so he's like, okay. He's looking around and like following instructions.
Yeah, but he looks terrifyingly focused when he's all alone.
Yeah, he's like deep in it.
It's a total shift.
About it. Yeah.
And then she says, Wyatt, is there something in the basement with you? And he's like, oh fuck. And it's one of those basements that has a single light bulb, and the light bulb goes out, and he's in the dark, and he's and there's this really long just while where he's in the dark with his flashlight looking around and like, is there someone else in here? Is there anything or anyone in here? And he's just not sure.
It's so creepy.
Yeah.
It's so well done though. Like, again, the tension in this movie is just like, it's a lot of shadows, like shadow play with stuff like that. It's a lot of like the unknown is what's really fucking terrifying.
It's that classic, like it's not seeing it that's scary. It's it's
exactly,
you know, Jaws.
Yeah, exactly.
And just the number and layers of things that he's imagining to make this make sense. Like that he's hearing her voice, and then that she's like, is there someone else there? And the light probably didn't go out at all. Like, and then it came back on. And he's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then he goes back up to the apartment, and it's dark in there, and he thinks that there's like he hears these really creepy footsteps, like pitter pattering around, just around the corner, and he's like, "Oh fuck!" And he like lunges around the corner and he pops Christian in the face.
Decks that food, bro. Like fucking.
And then they just have a very like honest moment about that, and he's like, "I thought I saw something. I thought there was someone else there." He's like trying to make excuses about it, and
I love it. He says, "Gotcha."
He's like he tries to play it off like they're still playing, even though they finished fucking around like 5 hours ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And Christian's just like, "My feelings are hurt. It's really not nice that you hit me." Like he definitely reverts psychologically.
He's still drunk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He just lays there. He's like, whatever.
All right, it's gonna happen.
He doesn't really care.
You know what? I didn't like think about until now. I didn't even think about this. Wyatt doesn't get drunk the whole movie.
Didn't he get drunk that one time?
No, it shows him pour out a bottle of beer and then refill it with water.
Right.
So he doesn't get drunk the whole movie, I'm realizing now.
So he was just having fun.
Yeah.
Trip the fuck out. I completely missed that.
He was just having good old fashioned I'm a kid fun.
Wow.
I forgot that.
Wow, good catch, bro.
It just occurred
That's
to me because I
awesome.
was like, okay, so when is this going to come up? What's going to be the relevance of this? But then they're both just so tore. But then it's just like his friend's just so tore up. He's not going to question whether or not he is.
Yeah,
you know?
I saw that and I forgot about it because that was earlier that he did that with the bottle, like one of the earlier times they were hanging out, and I just figured, okay, so now he's drunk.
Yeah,
but probably not.
But and the thing is, Christian just hits his bottle of like vodka or whatever the whole time, and like when he's on the floor with the vodka, Wyatt's on the floor holding a bottle of beer. Mm-hmm. So like Wyatt's just been drinking his fake beers the whole time.
He's just been getting hydrated.
He just keeps going to the bathroom and pouring out a beer and then filling it up with water.
He's just moisturized, focused,
living his best life
in his lane,
preparing for the end.
He is definitely in his lane. That's
that motherfucker in his element.
Yeah,
but wow, what a catch, huh?
That's a trip, bro.
Yeah,
good fucking catch.
That's good to know.
Excellent. That's excellent.
But Christian is definitely like, he's like, I don't know if I'm drunk or hungover, and he has work.
Yeah.
But they have a breakfast time that is Their breakfast times are so nice.
They're adorable, man.
Yeah. And Christian is like asking about like, I mean, clearly you punched me in the middle of the night. Like, let's talk about your night terrors. Like, how does that play out? And Wyatt just sort of like, he goes into it a little bit, but he kind of just plays it off. So they're like, Christian knows that something is up, but they haven't really delved into it yet.
Yeah.
And then Christian has to go to work. And he's like, I'm probably going to get a promotion today. Because, like, Mara...
He is confident.
Yeah, Mara has hinted at it. Like, when they were hanging out in the sound booth, she was like, maybe some good news in the coming week. So, like, he's like, I'm dominating. It's coming together.
I'm becoming the alpha.
Yeah. So, you have fun. I'll see you later. And this is when Wyatt's down in the basement and he's testing out the nail gun. And like
this is where we get the scene.
First thing he does is he puts that to the roof of his mouth. And he really gives it some thought. Mm-hmm. He's like, what would this feel like?
Yeah, he holds on that for a beat too long.
Yeah, and he's like, he's not emotional or anything. He's just like very calmly like, well, okay, so this is a way. And then he's like, maybe through my hand. Mm-hmm. And he puts his hand down on the table. And he hits the trigger a number of times, and it doesn't put any nails to his hand.
It has that like skin sensor, which a lot of construction tools have. Is that what it is?
Yeah, how does that work?
I don't really know, but circular saws do the same thing. A lot of saws do the same thing, where when they sense human skin, it stops. So it's supposed to, like, with certain ones, Like with with the saw that they use to cut casts off of your body. That saw does the same thing, but that one,
goodness.
That one specifically, if it touches your skin, it just stops automatically, and your skin doesn't get cut like whatsoever. But like on circular saws and stuff, I don't know if it'll stop you completely, but it'll make it not like continuously rip through you, you know. But
that sounds like magic technology to me.
Yeah, totally.
I'm gonna have to read about that.
Very few differences between magic and science. So.
Yes, Arthur C. Clarke. Any sufficient technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Exactly.
I just watched something that flashed that at the beginning of it.
Well, I don't think he knows about that because, like,
he was like,
he doesn't. He doesn't. He's definitely like, huh?
Yeah, and he like starts to like he opens it up and he's like messing with the springs. He's like, "Why did it not work?"
Yeah, he took like the safety off or whatever.
Yeah, and then he tests it out. Like he shoots it across the fucking room into a post, and he's like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, because I think what it's supposed to do is be like, okay, you are making contact with something, and that thing is not a living thing. Now you are cleared to fire the nail gun because it isn't.
Right, you can fire it as far as you want.
It's not supposed to cover distance. It's just, you're just supposed to put it up to the thing and click it. You know.
Yeah.
So because it's just supposed to drive the nails. It's not a projectile. In theory.
Right. In theory.
Yeah.
But
now in practice.
Yeah. Once you remove the fail safe, now you have a gun.
Now you have a
gun. And he goes up to the roof of the building.
Yeah.
That Christian showed him when they first arrived. He's like, check out all this cool space. We were gonna, me and my fiance were gonna have a party up here, but we never did that. So he goes up. Yeah, he goes up to the roof and he's looking down into the street and he's watching like one person go one way and one person go another way, and he's like, who knows what he's seeing when he looks at them, but he's like, it seems like any one of these or all of these people are demons in his eyes, and he's pointing the nail gun at one person and then another person, and it's just
it's a great fucking scene.
I think it's just that like lone man against it all, like protagonist complex. You know, he's just like, what do I do? Like, it's so overwhelming. Like, I could never just stand here and hoard them all off. Like, it's not going to happen. It's just so overwhelming. The voice was right. I shouldn't be here, kind of, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And it feels like the only reason he's not firing is he's like, well, I mean, it's not time to set the war off yet. Like,
I feel like if he was somewhere that 5 people were around him, he would kill those 5 people. But it's
just out of panic.
Sure. But it's just like it's just insurmountable odds. So it's just like I can't start it. They have to start it. Yeah. Even though I know that they're around me, I have to pretend I don't know. You know.
Yeah, and the voice has been telling him like there's this sort of I don't know what you would call it. It's sort of like a checklist of like that person next to you is not a brother, is not a lover.
That soldier with a gun
is not your friend. Yeah. And the voice says this several times throughout
your mother,
the
your
phone
brother,
calls.
your father, your sister.
Yeah.
It's so fucking dark, bro. It's extremely dark.
Like Sideshow said, it's just desensitize.
It's just getting them ready for
they're all reptilians. They're all, you know, it's just it's the same.
It's like just getting them ready for war, bro.
Yeah. So while this is going on, Christian he's hungover, but he's got himself together and he's ready for his promotion meeting.
God, okay, yeah, but this is when we get him on the subway, right? This is the reveal.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah. So Mara comes in, and he's like, "This would be great. I'm like gonna get my promotion straight from my boss girlfriend. This is gonna be
boss girlfriend."
And he's like, he's got like a little handful of notes with him, and he's like, looks like I'm stuck with you." And she's like, not in a joking mood.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like nervous, so he's trying to make the most of it. And he's like, "So yeah, I didn't get the job, right? Okay." The promotion or whatever. And she's like, yeah, And he's like trying to figure out how to make her like joke around with him, and she interrupts him, and she's like, "You're being let go."
My bad, bro.
And he's like, "What?" And like he can't. It's a joke to him. Mm-hmm. And she repeats it. She's like, "You're being let go. You're like most of your department is being laid off. You know, you need to go get your stuff and be out of here within the hour." And he goes through a little moment of shock, and he's just like, "Well, okay, fuck you, bye." and he drops his notes on the ground.
Yeah.
And they have affirmations on them.
Yeah, and he's like, really embarrassed.
Yeah. Believe in yourself. You can do it.
Look them in the eyes, which I thought was very interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Between the two of them.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then
and she sees them, and she's like, "Oh God,
Jesus, bro."
So tragic.
So that's who this guy is, you know, like that. It all becomes so obvious to her in that moment, and he says something along the lines of like, "Don't lie to me, I'm the only one." And then when he goes back, no one else is like packing up.
Oh yeah, packing up, exactly.
Yeah. And he goes back to his computer, and there's a note on his screen that says, "Good job dominating, asshole."
Yep.
From everyone.
Yeah, it literally says.
And no one will look at him.
It literally says dash everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone?
Like we all.
It's really interesting that like
the Breakfast Club.
Obviously he's gotten on the wrong side of everyone at work, but they haven't really shown that happening.
Yeah, I love that reveal as well. You've only seen so good.
Yeah, you've only seen clips of him just, you know, seemingly like being engaged at the workplace and like being part of meetings and stuff, but like you haven't seen his behavior at work or anything that would indicate.
You've just seen his preparation, like you said.
You just kind of get the sense of like how must a guy like that act.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it kind of gives you like his perspective. From his perspective, he's been putting in the work and he's been doing his best, and this is a total blindside to him.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter that we see how he was actually being at work because we only have his perspective.
God, similar to Maud again. Like you have the character who's like doing everything apparently right by the book, like, and they're expecting something to kind of, you know, immediately be granted to them.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and they get the exact opposite.
Oh man, pair this up with Maud. Go watch this movie with Saint Maud.
So when he loses his job and he's on the subway going back to his place, and he's listening to his recording, his affirmation that's like, "You are a mountain.
Love it. You are a mountain, baby.
You are 100 feet high." And then the voice that previously was just like reciting these things like breaks and is like, "Oh, I'm looking for maybe it's on the other page." And you realize, and he's in the recording, and you realize it's his fiance, Kat, was reading this and recording it for him so that he could have something to listen to. Yeah,
she's like, "I don't know, this is kind of weird," or something like that. She says like, "This is kind of weird." He's like, "Oh, it's going to help me. It's going to help me." So
whenever they were together, she recorded this thing for him, and he's still listening to it. And he says, I'm going to need this. I'm going to need this job because I'm going to be a dad.
That's so right, sad. Yeah. I didn't catch that.
That's right.
I watched it on Shudder, and the app just, if you try to rewind, it breaks. And then if you start again, it starts from the beginning. So we had a couple.
Oh, really?
We had a couple issues right at the beginning because we couldn't hear, and like the subtitles weren't on it initially and stuff. So we were just like, we can't go back for anything on this.
We've come too far.
But yeah, I definitely missed that part. So that's super interesting and so sad.
Yeah, it adds another depth to his character. It adds another depth to his character for sure.
It's like, in hindsight, we spend all this time being like, you know, he's an Andrew Tate douche, which he is, and that's why he's not kissing her and everything. But I think there's an element of like he's just still so in love with her, and he can just never have her because he's such a douche. So he just he's like listening to her voice all day, every day to try and amp himself up to be with this other woman. That's just like so.
Yeah. That's just not gonna work.
It's so heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's rough, dog. You don't do that.
Yeah. And I think it's very classy that like we don't get to know the particulars of what happened.
Yeah, you don't need to.
It's not necessary to know. This is the outcome.
Yep.
So yeah, he's coming home, and Wyatt's in the basement testing sulfuric acid on a slab of meat.
Yeah. He goes to the hardware store to buy the acid before that, right?
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, do you have sulfuric acid?" And the guy's like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
That scene just hella was shot similarly to and reminded me of Clerks. Of just like, what you mean? I gotta drink this coffee hot? Like, like he's like, so what happens if you get acid on your face? It'll burn your face off. It's not good for you. Like,
wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, like, what the fuck do you mean, dude? Buy it or don't. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know that guy knew he was in a movie. I think that was a spy shot.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
I don't know. He just seems so like of that realm.
That's
that
what I'm
right,
saying.
yeah,
That's why it felt like just like Clerks.
Yeah.
It's just like, shut up. What? Fuck you. Like, yeah.
I do wonder how they have an actual canister of acid?
I mean,
because
that shit burns through.
it was hissing and smoking in a very alarming way.
There are substances that it does not break down. There are certain, and that's why on the bottom of things, like a lot of times it's like the recycling number or whatever, but that is to tell you what the like chemical makeup specifically of like the type of plastic is. But like, yeah, there are containers. That's why
I have to transport it somehow. Put the person in the barrel.
I think in Breaking Bad they say exactly what kind of barrel you have to use to do that in terms of just
the Home Depot shopping list.
Yeah, when he's like, go there, get the acid, get this stuff, and that's why they end up destroying the tub.
I do remember that
because they didn't listen to him because he said exactly what kind of plastic you need.
Yeah,
and
I do remember
that.
Like,
was so metal.
Yeah.
They were like, we could just save money by not buying this stuff, you know?
Yeah, that scene with the bathtub was so metal.
Yeah, that was fucking...
It just went through the whole fucking house.
Yeah.
So we clearly see that it is capable of going through a lot of shit.
I haven't thought about
that's why
that
this
in
looks
years.
like...
I haven't thought about that in so long, but it's still so fresh in my mind. Like, that much of the framing of that event is still fresh in my mind.
It's what was so alarming about, like, Wyatt's got like this steak on a cookie sheet, and he's pouring the acid all over it, and it's hissing, and I'm like, is that gonna go? This is going through the cookie sheet, through the table? Where does this stop?
And then he puts it behind the counter, and the smoke just disappears like a cooking show, like Martha Stewart.
You know.
He's like, we'll check in on that later.
he's in the midst of it, and then Christian's like, Wyatt, it's like the first time he's ever come down to the basement to see what's going on, and Wyatt's like, oh fuck. Doing the most suspicious thing he could possibly be doing. So he manages to hide the acid somehow.
Yeah.
And then
it don't got a scent.
Yeah. Christian comes. Well, he's like, it smells like shit in here.
Yeah.
And then Wyatt's like hiding. He's like moving the axes around. He's like, oh, hey.
Sorry, I farted.
Yeah. Basically. And the only reason Christian isn't like, what the fuck, is that he's like, I lost my job.
Yeah.
So he's like, you know,
what are you doing?
He's got bigger problems in his mind.
Yeah.
And
they just go fully unhinged together.
Yeah, and Wyatt's basically like, we need to talk. Like, he's ready to, he's like, now is the time to talk. Mm-hmm. But Mara comes over.
Oh yeah.
She rings the doorbell.
I forgot about that.
And Christian's like, oh fuck, and then like Wyatt's like, make her go away. Like, we need to talk. And like Mara's on the other side of the door, hearing all of this, you know. Okay, yeah, it's a bit gay. All the girly whispering about.
Girly whispering.
What do you think she wants? Make her go away.
Like, bro, shut up. She can
and they open the door and she's got the schnapps. She's like, here's the schnapps that you bought me and I never drank because schnapps is disgusting.
I think she opened the door. Because I think they're both.
Did she?
I think they're both just standing there talking, and she just opens the door, and then she's like, "Oh, sorry. Hey, I just wanted to like come over and check on you." I think she does.
She's
Just
like,
Didn't
"Hey,
notice you there in your home.
what's going on?"
I think literally the door's just unlocked because they're going in and out and shit, and they're standing there talking, and then she just opens the door.
He's like, "Oh, I didn't hear you ring, obviously."
Yeah.
And she's like, "I brought this schnapps," and he's like, he has another one of those moments. Christian is just like, "Oh, so you've come to, laugh at me because you fired me earlier today," and she's like,
You need to put that guard down, bro.
yeah, and she's basically like, "Oh, okay, see you never, I guess."
Yeah, exactly.
And then he's like, "Fuck," and he's like, do you want to come in?"
He's like, now it's not a conflict of interest. Let's come on.
And angel saint that she is, she's like, "Yeah, I do, because I like you, you fucking moron,
you fucking idiot."
Yeah. And she sits down with the two of them, and they're drinking the schnapps, and they're having a good time. Wyatt's probably not drinking the schnapps, but yeah, they're hanging out, and it's cool because they have chemistry and they get along. If they could just get along.
Yeah. If he could stop being a fucking tool for a second.
Yeah, and he's trying. Like I don't know how this comes up, but she brings up like some kind of tea that she likes. And Christian's like, he's trying to be chivalrous. He's like, he puts on his coat. He's like, "I'll go get it right now." And she's like, "No, that's not necessary."
You really don't
and he's
need
like,
to do that.
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, because you need to leave." And she's like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, okay, cool." And he goes to get it. And he leaves Mara alone with Wyatt.
Man, bad move.
And,
bad move.
Yeah. And the general audience vibe is like, "Oh, fuck."
Like, shit.
Yeah, because he has acid now.
He's well equipped for this situation.
Yeah. And this is one of those, like, they do, like, I do think she has better chemistry with Wyatt in terms of, like, there's no weirdness between them.
Yeah.
They would be really good friends, or maybe even, a couple at some point, because they have a similar, like, honesty to them. So he's just washing dishes and stuff, and, like, he's like, "I got a phone call the other day," and she's like, "Oh, okay."
How fun.
Cool. And he's like trying to find a way to be like, "You called me and gave me instructions."
They're like talking about Sandy. He's like, "How's Sandy doing?" and blah blah blah. Then when he says that, she's like, "I don't think it was Sandy. Like, I don't know if she's like that into you."
Yeah, Sandy wouldn't call you. You two, the extra wheels on the date. Nothing happened there. Like, she's not gonna call you.
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, yeah." And then he like tries a different tact. He's like, "Do you ever hear something that isn't there?" And she's like, "Well, yeah, actually, I hear a choir." It's like
that one threw me off. I was like, "Whoa!"
Which is interesting because the soundtrack of the film is a choir, like unnerving, sort of angelic singing, like very melancholy.
Yeah. I didn't put that together before until now. That's so interesting.
Yeah, it's like Wyatt is the only person who's like hearing shit, but the other characters have things that they're listening to. Like Mara hears, just
these like
choir in her head, and
disembodied choir. Yeah,
and Christian is always listening to this recording of this woman who's no longer there. So like, he's not alone in that. In a way,
and hearing things that
that's
aren't
so
there.
Interesting. I love a good like thematic through line.
That's a fucking great read of this.
It's like they're all a bit lonely and listening to their own things.
God, I love this movie.
And she also mentioned she's like, "Yeah, I hear," and she thinks she's the weird one. She's like, "I hear choir in my head, but my mom also, she gets like jazz that just plays randomly in her head." And this I have actually experienced. Like sometimes my brain will just make classical music sound. It just like goes and goes, and I'm like, okay, stop it. But
interesting.
It just like, if you've heard enough of something in your life, your brain can sort of spit it back out.
In another way, yeah, for sure.
So like jazz and classical is just very busy sounding stuff. It's like the white noise of your brain. So
hey, you're a secret composer, Doug.
Yeah. If only I could write it down. So, yeah, she's like just being very kind towards him and being like, oh yeah, I think we all hear stuff. And then he like very awkwardly changes subject. He's like, has Christian ever shown you the roof or the basement?
Such a fucking strange segue,
and he's like, well,
bro.
we could just like stand around here, or we could go to another place.
Yeah, he's like, it's better than awkwardly standing around
location.
here. Yeah, exactly. A second location. Which, you know, everyone's probably knows this, but yeah, just don't go to a second location.
Yeah.
Like,
And
just never go to a second location.
And he just goes ahead and picks the basement. So he brings her down there.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
No self-awareness.
And he's showing her
whatsoever.
around. And she's like, okay, you know, what's creepy? It's gross.
Yeah, exactly.
And very quickly, like, he's like, we're safe down here. And she's like, okay. And then he's
they
like,
can't hear us.
he's like, I followed your instructions. I have all the stuff. When does it start? And she's just sort of staring at him like, what?
She's cool. You can stop now.
Yeah. And he's like, he's very earnest and he's just trying different tacts to, you know, jog her memory of who she is to him. And he's like, I've done everything that you said. I like, just tell me. And he like moves close to her and he like puts his ear next to her. And he's like, tell me, how do they infect us? And she's like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Mad uncomfortable.
And she's sort of like, yeah. She's like, I'm gonna go now.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, wait. And he gets in front of her, between her and the stairs. And she very understandably is like, Wyatt, move or I'm going to hurt you.
Mm-hmm. Like,
and he lets her
I
go.
ain't the one, bro.
Yeah. And thank Christ you're like a little less worried about her because she knows jujitsu. You're she'll probably kick his ass.
She can and will fuck him up.
Yeah.
With jujitsu,
But he lets
I'll
her
kick
go.
your ass.
And when by the time Christian gets back, he comes in and Wyatt is like rearranging his various weaponry in his duffel bag, and he's like, Mara had to go. And he's like, what?
It's like, what the fuck just happened? Wait, what?
And
he's like, where the fuck? What's going on? This is very creepy.
And then he looks at the duffel bag, and then the camera like moves over, and then Wyatt just goes, don't worry about that. And then just like keep moving the conversation along.
No, look at me.
His duffel bag full of axes.
Yeah.
No big deal.
A fucking murder kit in his fucking bag.
And this is maybe the first time that he's like, maybe I shouldn't let Wyatt stay here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Wyatt hands him a note. Because he can't.
Yeah, he can't. Well,
he can't say it out loud.
He can't say it out loud, yeah.
So he hands him like kind of a long note that explains it. And Christian sits down to read this shit, and this is where he finds out like what's going on with Wyatt, and he takes it very well.
Yeah, no, exactly. Talk about one of the most supportive characters I've ever seen on screen, I think.
Yeah, he just kind of like he reads it quietly, and he's like, okay.
Yeah, it's
which is kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah, definitely. But it's also like a huge statement about Christian's like character. You know what I mean? Like the fact that he's faced with this thing, and it's like, fuck. All right. Well, my friend needs help.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so
It's not-
tough.
it's not-
That's just that.
Yeah.
Because then it's just like, okay, it doesn't help to fight against this. It doesn't help to tell him, you know, that
You're wrong.
Yeah.
That you're illogical.
I need to just, you know, figure out how to move this along in a positive way.
Yeah.
You know, just like, okay, this is a lot to drop on me, but let's...
Bless. Yeah, exactly. Bless him for getting ready. Like, all right, well, fuck it. It's game time. Let's go.
Yeah.
I think he tries to give him an axe or something to...
Yeah, he hands him an axe. He's like, all right, let's do this. He's like...
Yeah.
Because then it's like, yeah, he's pretty much just like, this is real. You know, like, this is happening. Like, don't be scared, or something, like, stop being a bitch.
Yeah, and they have a little bit of a argument about that. I think they talk about, like, maybe setting him up with a different psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And this is where, like, Christian, like, reveals a little more of himself. He's like, well, last year I tried to kill myself. Mm-hmm. And then I called this guy, and he helped. So we're going to set you up with this guy.
It's a great way to reveal that. It gives
you a sense of the timeline of, like, he was trying to become this dominant person, become more of this, and he thought that it's he thought that it's what his partner wanted, to the point of, you know, borrowing company equipment and making these affirmations, and she's just like, okay, this is strange. Like, obviously it went in a strange direction, and she wasn't a fan of it. And then probably shortly after the breakup, he tried to kill himself. And then he found even more solace in diving so heavily back into this affirmation-heavy lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? He just used what he had from that time, and he didn't really grow.
And as a way to hang on to her as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Mm-hmm. And then Wyatt gets another call in the voice of his former fiancée, Hannah. And she says some things to him that are deeply disturbing. It's taking on another tone now. He's been preparing. And this one is just very much just a threat. Like, this one is a call from them.
Yeah.
Because she's already become one of them, and she's like, you're one of the special ones. You know, we really like you because you're so soft. And we'll pull you apart ventricle from vesicle and spread you out like a red tree.
Such a good line. Such a good line.
Fuck.
That's poetic as fuck, bro.
Again, very The Thing kind of like imagery coming to mind.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of like that biblical old world, like, when the world ends, how bad is it going to be? Worse than you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just such...
and I can go some pretty dark places in my head, so...
Yeah. And Wyatt is smart enough to tell him about some of these phone calls, which is when Christian's like, well, we'll get you some help. And step one, we're going to sell these axes.
Yeah, exactly. We're getting rid of sharp objects.
And he sells them back to the guy on the corner. Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's what I meant. Yeah, because he sells the axe.
Yeah.
And he that was what I thought was funny, because when he sells it, he's like, it's an antique, like, axe and hatchet set. I'm like, those are yellow plastic handles.
They're brand new.
Exactly.
And he's like, I didn't end up needing them for the project that I bought them for.
Project fell through.
So, yeah. Like, the guy even gives a shit. This guy will buy anything.
I was going to say, you're buying axes off a corner. I don't think he's got a lot of qualms about anything.
It's a good call. Christian is very smart to be like, okay, we'll deal with this one thing at a time, but, like, let's get the axes out of here.
Yep. Yeah, let's remove the weaponry.
Yeah. And then Wyatt I think he calls Sandy, the other friend from the date, and he wants to, I think he meets up with her, or maybe she called him, but they meet, and she's basically like, Mara's told her about the creepy encounter in the basement, and Sandy's like, it's a real shame because, like, Mara really liked your dumb little friend.
Yeah.
But, like, if you ever go anywhere near my friend again, I will fucking kill you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he has this little moment of, like, realism.
Yeah.
Like, he's all
I'm
worried.
gonna fucking kill you. Like, I love that.
Yeah, he's
Her
like
delivery's great.
all worried about the end of the world by demons, and then there's, like, a regular person being like, I will kill you. Just man to man here.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, like, his immediate response to that is to go and find Mara or like I don't know if he knew where she was gonna go, or like he crossed her path in some way. Like he found her, and she's walking, and she's like, nope, get the fuck away from me. You go anywhere near me, I will.
She says, touch me, and I will rip your face out of your spine.
Yeah, that was we kind of touched earlier on like the weird nature of some of the dialogue.
Just fucking
yeah.
Strange, bro. I had to stop. I was like, what the fuck did she just say?
All right, Sub-Zero.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's, he's like really trying to make it right, and he's trying to apologize and explain like what's going on.
He's like, I'm the messed up one. It's not Christian. I'm leaving town. You know?
Yeah, he's trying to put it back together the way it was. But he's also moving towards her while he does this, and she's like, nope. And she like fucking pops him in the face. She drops him.
She drops his ass. Yeah, he's
crumpled.
He goes down like a bitch, bro. Yeah. He's a one-hitter quitter, bro.
And she's just like, oh, god damn it.
Yeah, she's like, I didn't assault.
She's just standing,
too pathetic. Yeah.
She's standing over him. She's like, please don't die.
Please don't die.
And then she feels bad, and she's like, okay, funny. Get up, let's go. Are you good?
You good, bro?
And she takes him somewhere, like, I don't know, like a cafe or maybe her office. But they're sitting together, and I guess he explains it to her.
The actual inner workings, I guess.
Yeah, he levels with her. He's like, I got this stuff going on. We don't see that part, but like he evidently explained. And she's like, she's understanding, but she's just tired of their bullshit, the both of them. And she's like, okay, well that explains, you, I guess, but not why, Christian's such an idiot. And he's just kind of like sitting next to her, and he starts to hear the flies, and he starts to hear this crackling sound, like bones rearranging, and he's just like, oh fuck.
It's so good.
And you see a long shot of her hands on the table in blood.
Yeah, that was super well done. That's such a cool fucking cut.
And it's so minimal, like you feel like her fingers are changing shape. They're not actually. She's just like
bending,
flexing them.
or flexing them, like.
But it's happening so gradually that you're like,
so good though, like.
Yeah, and then he gets up the courage to look at her, which is a mistake. And you watch her eyes. They
turn white.
They just move, like the dark part that is the eye that looks at you. It just moves off to the side.
Yeah,
and her eyes become white.
So cool.
And she's smiling.
She goes full Raiden.
It gets
Speaking of Mortal Kombat,
it gets real bad.
Yeah. In her mouth, she just becomes this horrific, Yeah.
She goes ghost face, bro. So.
And he goes back home. He goes back to Christian, and he's like, we got to get out of town, bro. It's happening.
We got dip, dog.
He's like, I went to see Mara, and she turned into one of them. And Christian, for the first time, is like, did you hurt her?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, wait, she's alive though, right?
Yeah. And because he's been explaining a little bit of what this looks like, and like he's gone as far to be like, you don't want to know what they turn into. Like, her head split open, and there was this thing there, like, inside. Yeah, and Christian's like, how could you look at that and not actually end up hurting someone?
Yeah.
He's like, no, I ran away. I came to find you. And he's like, we have to leave, though, now. So let's fucking go.
I have a car.
And his decision to like lean in at this point was just like, I'm like, I don't know, dog. This seems sketchy, bro.
I think he's just like, he may have already hurt someone. This might get worse. I can't let him go on his own.
Yeah.
And like Christian's also in a really bad place. I think when Wyatt gets back to the apartment, he's like, what are you doing? And Christian is like, I'm signing up for the army.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, he's like, that'll make me a man. I'll be a big tough guy in the army.
Yeah, he's like, either I'll get shot in the face or, I'll piss myself, like, one or the other, whatever. like I'll become a man or I'll die.
Yeah.
Like we're down to this now. I've got nothing left. He's got no relationship. He's got no job. He's just failed to be this mountain that he was hoping to become.
Yeah. He says like calling back like you said. He's like, yeah, I would piss myself if a gun was in my face, and the only way to make sure that that's not the case is to go to the army. And it's just like no.
That's not how that goes.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. I would think most people that are in the army, like, sure, you wouldn't piss yourself, but I think you'd have the presence of mind to, like, I've been robbed at gunpoint twice, and both times it's just like, okay, here's all my stuff. I'm gonna go ahead. And I'm not,
the wherewithal.
I'm not looking at your
I could
face.
Die today.
I don't know what you look
exactly.
like. I'll go ahead and lay on the ground and count to 100 if that's what you're telling me to do. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like...
Yeah. He says, I don't believe what you believe, but I know you believe it.
Yeah, that's
so
fucking great. Dude.
Yeah.
Find you a friend like that, man. Like,
well, maybe not totally like him, but...
Not totally like that, but who will say that in a time of need. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They basically make a deal like, I think he's like, I'll leave town with you as long as you promise to go to it. It's like appointment at some point here in the future. And he's like, sure, yeah, but we gotta go now.
And he's like, yeah, I pushed my appointment back. It's in a week, whatever. The war starts tonight, my appointment's in a week.
Yeah. He's like, we'll go to the lake house or whatever. And I think he's like, my parents don't live there anymore. The place they were intending to go. Yeah. But he takes them out. He's like, I have a car. And they go out to the car. And they're like, he opens the back to put some stuff in, and Christian notices there's stuff in the back of the car that he doesn't recognize, and he's like, wait, when did he ever have a car though? And he's looking at the stuff in the back of the car, and he looks at the steering wheel, and there's like a screwdriver jammed in the steering wheel.
Yeah,
And he's like, Wyatt, whose car is this? And
well, you don't need to ask all these questions right now.
Yeah. Wyatt's busy though, because he's about to get in the car and he hears a clap of thunder.
Doesn't he hear all three?
And then he hears another one. And he's waiting, and like Christian's like talking to him, but he's not. He's busy. He's
just
like
zoned out.
He's like 1, 2, and he's like, I mean, I know there's gonna be 3. Yeah. This is like it's not even a cloudy day. Like, what the fuck is this? And he's like, change of plans. We don't have time. It's starting right now. And he's consulting a watch. He's like, we've got 6 minutes. You know, we gotta like, it's time to go to the basement instead.
Get inside. Yeah.
This is so tense too, because you're just like, oh fuck, what is gonna happen? Like, is he gonna get hurt right now? Like,
which does beg the question. I mean, like, you know, weather phenomenon happens all the time. Like, did he really hear thunder? Did Christian hear the thunder?
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's the kind of thing you could brush off because there's something more important happening in front of your eyes, which is that your disturbed friend has stolen a car and possibly hurt people. Which brings into question, like, he killed Mara. I don't think he didn't kill Mara.
You think so?
I don't think he ran away from her. Because it also begs the question of, like, where did he get that car from? Who, did he have to hurt somebody to get that car? Like, I think that he tried to hurt Hannah, and that's why they had to break up. And that's why he's like, she cheated on me, don't worry about it, don't go into it.
Yeah.
That would track. I just don't know if he, like, intentionally hurt because like, like how the ending happens or like what happens in the end. I feel like he might have been like, he might have just ran away because he was just so scared of the delusion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, he didn't hurt his doctor either. He just left.
Yeah, but also it ebbing and flowing. It wasn't so bad then. And I think then I don't think he saw anything. True. I think it was just when he turned around, he became so overcome with fear of what would happen when he turned back, and then it was nothing, but it was enough to just poison him against this person who was trying to help him. And that's like very much a thing, even with like, you know, even with like me being someone who struggles with depression, you're like, oh, this would help. Well, I'm not going to do it because I don't deserve that, and I'm not going to deal with it. You know what I mean? So it's like part that like weird not defense mechanism, but you know what I mean? That kind of...
Defensive.
Yeah. It's like that firing off, but being manifested through the lens of his other illnesses. You know what I mean?
Sense.
So it's...
Yeah, that makes total sense.
But I think also what happens as we go on is because Christian is someone who is specifically special to him. So I think with Mara...
He's willing...
Okay.
He's,
with Mara, he thinks was one of his... part of this secret spy network of blessed people who could tell, and then now all of a sudden she's acting brand new, like she doesn't know what's going on, and then it turns out she's one of them. So it's like, how much does this thing know about what's going on? I can't let this one escape, you know, like...
He's like 3 steps behind.
So I think he hurt her and then stole that car from someone.
Man, that's interesting.
He may have.
That makes more sense definitely now.
Yeah, but we don't get to know.
No, we don't ever know. We'll never know.
So they go back inside.
And he's like, it's happening right now, so we have to go down to the basement. And Christian is sort of in a... And this is where Christian really shines, that the actor, this is his best part of the film, I think, because he's like doing a lot of internal, like... He's sort of wavering back and forth between, fuck it, I'll do whatever you need me to do, and being sort of like, when is this too far? Like, but he's trying to be supportive, and he's also sort of like self-destructive at the moment. And
so he leans all the way in.
Yeah, so they're down in the basement, and he's like, let's make a game out of it, where we're stuck in the basement anyway. Like, let's try to keep the vibe up, and they have gas masks for, I assume, the acid fumes. And he's like, Christian's got the gas mask on, and he's dancing around, and he's like, ba-ba-da-ba-doo. And he's like, let's go. It's a holy war.
I think also for fear of infection, because he's like, I don't know if they come through your eyes or through your ears, so we're going to put on these full-body suits and cover all of our...
hazmat suits. Yeah.
So I think a combination.
Yeah. And there's a really subtle shift that happens... Because Wyatt's very, very sensitive. He's very vulnerable right now. And Christian has the mask on, so you can't see his face. Yeah. And he's dancing around and singing and making a bunch of noise. And then Wyatt starts to, like, hear flies, or he's not sure. And because he can't see Christian in that moment, he thinks maybe it's happened.
It's so cool, because the room even goes kind of, like, dark, doesn't it? Like, the lights kind of dim or whatever. But, like, I felt like that was also just happening in
and he's like, stop singing, take the mask off, like, and Christian, like, gets it. He's like, oh, so you think...
He's like, I get it. You can't trust me.
You can't tell.
You can't tell.
Yeah, he's like, so tie me up, bro.
Like, that's it.
Like, and Wyatt's kind of like, really?
Like, what the fuck, for real?
So,
like, and he's like, hey.
Not gay at all, huh?
No. Not even.
Just...
Nah,
bro. It's just two bros having some
tying
basement
each other
time,
up
bro.
in the basement and wearing costumes. All right.
Nope, not gay. I stand by that.
Stand by me.
That's so good.
So he allows himself to be tied up, and this is one of those little moments where, like, you're on his face, and you're like, he's like, what am I doing?
Yeah, and even I'm like watching this, fucking pulling my hair out, like, bro, you need to get the fuck up on out of there. Bro.
He's allowed Wyatt to take away his ability to fend for himself.
He says, like, I trust you, you need to trust me, and if this is what it takes, then I'm willing to do it, because that's how much I trust you.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. Get you a homie like that, really.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's...
I don't know.
Yeah.
And then,
you need a ride or die.
He goes to bat for his boy, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
It takes that other step where he's like, well, I'm going to need to gag you so that you can't... I can't remember what he says about talking.
Yeah, he says it could be through their eyes or through their voice. Through their eyes. So I need to gag you and blindfold you.
Yeah, so he puts a sock in his mouth and he tapes it, and then you're watching Christian be like, decisions were made.
Yeah, exactly.
And he puts a paper bag over his head. Yeah, and this is the really dangerous thing, because he puts a paper bag over his head, and that is dehumanization.
Yeah.
Once his face is hidden.
Yep.
Like, Wyatt's reasoning is like the face is dangerous just in case, but like you can't see your friend's face.
It makes it easier.
He's just a figure.
It's just a figure at that point.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a very, very good read. What I was just thinking, and I think this is what they want the first-time viewer to be thinking, is like, wow, I would much rather have a bag over my head than duct tape across my eyes. So, like, that's actually kind of a mercy of him, is like literally what I
It's a very gentle way to...
is like compared to the alternative, which like, because he just duct taped a sock to in his mouth, you know. But you're right, it is so much deeper and so much worse than that.
Yeah absolutely.
And he's like clearly very nervous, so he's like, he's got the thing in his mouth, but he's like singing a song.
They're silly
he's singing
songs.
the same song
because he's scared to death. And
they've been drunkenly singing
they're
these
public domain songs that they've been singing.
Public domain.
That as best friends, they're like, I sure do love this public domain jukebox.
The ants go marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah,
Happy
is what they sing on.
birthday.
They make it work.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's making all this noise, and like Wyatt is deep in it. Like the light has gone out.
It's so good.
And
dude.
he's hearing all these things, and he's checking his watch, and it's like about to start any second now. And like he's hearing, I don't know if he's hearing the voice, the original voice, like right now, or if he's like remembering things that it told him.
It's hard to tell.
About about like it could be anyone. God. That person who's next to you is not who you think they are.
The way it's
your mother, your brother.
When it starts though, like the way that the fucking bag starts moving on his head is so fucking good.
The longer the bag is on his head, and Wyatt is stressed out, so he's like, "Be quiet," and then Christian is quiet, and that's worse.
And then it's
because he's just sitting there, and the bag is crinkling and crunching, and he's like moving around.
But like before he starts doing that, because he's like moving around and singing, and then he's like, "Be quiet," and then he's quiet for a second, and then his head like drops 2 inches.
Yeah, he like
and
droops
then
down.
all the crinkling stops. There's like a moment where he like stops moving. And then becomes animated again.
As though he's been taken over by something else. And and then Wyatt's like, he's got his little jug of acid. And I think
that bang on him.
At something scares him, the light goes out and it scares him, and he like dumps a bunch of acid on the floor.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying.
So fucking scary.
Yeah.
Scary as shit.
He's like really jumpy. So he's like assessing the situation, and he's fucking terrified, and this figure is like moving around in all these subtle ways, and the bag is flexing, and all these macro shots of like the side of the bag being sucked in by the breath of the face underneath.
And it seems like the bottom of the bag is getting wet as it's happening too. Like just a lot of kind of unsettling shit going on that we can't see.
Yeah, and then
extremely creative.
His hands tied behind his back seem to have blood on them. They seem to be
engorged.
Yeah, the way that Morrow's hands were changing in that puddle of blood. There's like something happening to Christian's hands, and he's like circling Christian, and he's got this jug of acid, and he's like it's like psyching himself up to like pour this acid over Christian's head.
God, that's so tense. Oh, it's so good.
And it's so convincing. Like you all but believe what Wyatt is seeing. Like this isn't Christian anymore. This is something else. And he reaches a breaking point, and he's like, "Nah." And he sets the jug down, and he takes the bag.
He takes like a deep breath first. He's like. And just like rips it off.
Yeah, he takes the bag off of Christian's head, and Christian's like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad to see you."
There's one shot too though before he pulls the bag off where it spits off the sock and the gag, and there's blood.
Oh yeah!
Oh really?
There's blood and a bunch of teeth. Like
blood. Yeah, it falls down.
Implying that like whatever it is has like pushed out his mouth and like spit out all of this stuff, and then
that's very compelling evidence. I forgot about that. Yeah, he spits the sock out,
and then he pulls the bag off, and he still has the gag on him, and he's just like, "Oh God, what the fuck were you doing out here this whole time?"
And he releases Christian, and Christian's basically like, "I did it. I didn't piss myself. We did it, bro.
We did it, bro."
And then they hug.
Yeah, I put surprisingly sweet ending.
He says,
they
Extreme.
they went through like trial by each other's fire.
Yeah. That's such
Christian
a good way
says,
of
"I
putting
realize
that.
we haven't hugged this whole time," and then they do.
He said that.
Yeah, see what I mean? Like,
and
God damn it.
And that's the end.
And that's the movie, bro.
And then we don't know. I feel like he has to face the fallout for what he did to Mara after that, and I feel like that is like the proof of all of this has been in my head, because now I know like the sock thing is so. It's like that just can't be mistaken one way or the other. Like he saw his friend's teeth all over the ground, you know. So it's like that's the proof of like, and he has another person who's privy to the things going on in his head now. So it's like whether he hurt Mara or not, he gets help after this.
This is gonna be.
That's why it's an extremely optimistic ending.
It was probably the best.
He's not going through it alone.
Probably
anymore.
the best case scenario ending you're gonna see on this podcast.
Absolutely. I was just thinking about that. Like all of the movies that we covered so far are pretty fucking horrific endings.
A lot of harm.
It's funny because like I feel like as we go on, we're gonna be able to like very thematically draw sort of like trilogies and series between like things that we're saying in terms of sort of like how the Vengeance trilogy, you know, is like not a 3-part story. It's just 3 Vengeance stories.
Doing the Vengeance trilogy,
but
baby.
Like how this,
we're doing that.
Like how this is, you know, very synonymous with Saint Maud.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was another one that we did that I was going to say was very synonymous with, but.
Yeah, no, but you're absolutely right. There's themes that are being revisited with these movies, but also like they're like. I feel like the themes that were presented in this one are almost like built on in Saint Maud. You know what I mean? Like they're almost like it's like these were the base brick layers, and it's like let's add a little bit of more body horror shit to it. You know what I mean? Like let's add a little bit more. But like
a little bit of creature.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah,
I was gonna say like this and Man Bites Dog are so obviously like, you know, two. Not necessarily both student films, but this also has sort of like a more typical student film air to it in terms of.
This is a first feature.
Definitely
it was the
so
sets were one of their houses, and then like they got access to like a boardroom for 2 scenes and like an office for 1 scene.
Gorilla shot in a fucking hardware store.
And they kept it minimal, so it didn't feel like it was stretched too much. They kept it simple.
This and Man Bites Dog are both such like master classes in minimalism and achieving the maximum effect, and like. You know, just like how Man Bites Dog is really just 3 guys, you know, like 4 guys kind of going back and forth and talking while doing all this other stuff. And most of the extras and other actors are really, all they have to do is go, "A murderer. Oh, I'm dead." You know what I mean? They didn't expect a lot out of those other actors, you know? It wasn't very... But...
Just don't look at the camera. Or do, in this case.
Same here where it's like, you know... They didn't show us a lot. We never saw what the monsters really looked like and stuff. And none of that matters. And like literally 50 to 60 minutes of this movie are just these 2 guys' friendship playing out. You know? But it's still it's a solid, about family. Fantastic horror film. Like it's so
absolutely.
It's unequivocally like you can't argue that it's not. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's a solid fucking movie because it draws you in with this idea of like something bigger is going on, and it's like when you finally come to that realization of like, oh, this isn't as big, but it's huge to them. You know what I mean?
And like we talked about it,
like the stakes are high, but they're within interpersonal relationships.
Like we talked about it before too, you know, like they both in their mind are this like chosen one who has this grand destiny before him that he just has to seize for himself. If Christian just dominates and steps up and shows everyone his worth, he can have, you know, his beautiful girlfriend and his high-paying job, and everyone will know what a like virile, awesome man he is when he fathers a bunch of children and all this stuff. And then you have, you know, everything going on with Wyatt. So it's just, you know, it's.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a solid movie. Let's rate this bitch.
Oh, you guys start.
Let's go ahead. Well, I mean, we've definitely been pumping it up a lot. I feel, a solid 5 out of 6.
Yeah.
Because this is one of those, like you said, it's just a student film like feel to it, but they're doing so much with so little. Like the performances are fantastic because it's really a lot of the facial expressions that they're doing. There's a lot of subtle facial expressions that they're pulling off that convey so many emotions. Like the tension is really between the actors.
Yeah, like
it's very pliable. Like
the dialogue isn't very good, but the acting and the chemistry makes it all gel. You know,
I mean, I'm gonna rip your face out of your spine. What the fuck?
Yeah.
What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, that's.
She's a badass bitch.
She makes men cry. Well, she made him cry.
Oh my god.
They made themselves cry.
Yeah, don't they always?
Just be weary of EMTs, apparently.
Yeah.
They're all perverts who smell like French fries.
I want French fries now.
We should all smell like French fries.
So how'd you feel about it?
They smell like French fries.
They smell like...
I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 6 as well. I thought it was really, really well done. I don't know if I would necessarily revisit it like too often, but it's absolutely going into this, you know, the oeuvre of like, oh, these are the movies you gotta see, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
These are definitely
At
the
least
foundation.
once.
It's a must see, and you know of course that's why we're covering it. But you know, it was a fantastic first watch, to the point where when he's sitting there in the basement with him, and he's got the bottle over his head, Amanda and I are like, do it, bro, just fucking do it, you know. And then they spit the teeth out, and we're like, oh shit, and then it turns out it was all wrong, and it was like, fuck, we fell for it. And I'm sure many people in the theater, or you know, first time seeing this, are like, yo, you need to pour that acid, my guy, like
you need to do that shit, homie.
And it could have ended that way, like, you know, Saint Maud did that, and it worked that way.
He wrote out his episode. He wrote out the episode.
It's beautiful. I think that's super beautiful, like to put that in there. It's like a super triumphant thing. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
So 5
your
out of
rating
6.
now.
5 out of 6 here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's a little rough around the edges, but like what it does
it does
very
well.
Yeah, it's so compelling.
And I would love to see another movie by this team, because it's not one writer.
And
turns out.
They are a team. Yeah, Perry Blackshear has done. He did a film in 2019 and one in 2021, and
all the same cast.
Yeah, those two guys and Mara, they're all in every one of those. That's
awesome. We should, if they're also fit, we should do those here.
They're all horrors.
Nice.
Yeah.
They're all horror films.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's
I got the sense that
this
was a kickstarted movie.
It may have.
Because at the end, there's a very large special thanks section. And one of the very first names is also something Blackshear, so I think one of their parents gave them like 10 grand, and then everyone else gave the rest.
Shout out to the parents.
Yeah.
Shout out Mama Blackshear.
Which, like, let's be honest, you know, if I was to do anything, my parents would definitely throw in like several $100 or whatever, and it'd be like, come on, you don't have to do that, but you know.
All right, well, with that, we're going to hit them with the socials. Why don't you go ahead and drop that on them, Skeptic?
So you can follow us on Instagram at the Devil's Work Pod, and we are on Facebook at the Devil's Work Podcast. You can find us on all of your preferred podcatchers. You might have to actually type the Devil's Work Podcast to find us, but we are there.
Yeah.
If you could give us a 5-star or a review, we would really appreciate it.
We're worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
And
God
we
damn
also
it.
have our Gmail set up, the Devil's Work Podcast at gmail.com. And you can hit us with some suggestions, some feedback, some love.
Anything, man. We just want to hear.
Prophecies
We want to hear
of the
from
end
you guys, man.
times.
Yeah.
Is anybody out there? Is anybody listening?
Anybody
But yeah, no,
out
please,
there?
please hit us with all that. We appreciate the love so far. It's been amazing. This is technically the 10th episode we've ever recorded. This one's going to be released a little bit later, but
Yeah,
God damn it, we're in the double digits, baby.
Yeah.
We're getting in the big kids club.
That's right.
Man, I'm so excited. But next week, I think we're going to be back with Skeptic's Pick, and this one is a wild one. This is a very fun one.
We're getting into
I can't
a
wait.
very distinct form of body horror, which is pregnancy horror, with
this is
the French
fucking
film
rough, bro.
Inside, which is
Yup.
alongside Martyrs, two of the most
pretty hard
must-watch
to watch.
movies in my eyes.
It's must watch, but it is a hard to watch movie.
It is hard to
for
watch,
sure.
but it is a good one.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing. So we're gonna be back with that one, definitely. We hope you guys have enjoyed this episode so far. Yeah, man, stay safe out there, as we always say.
Look out for your friends.
Look out for the friends, man.
And do not look them in the eyes.
Absolutely not. Don't do that. don't nobody do that. All right, y'all. Take care. Thank you. See you next week. Peace.